the CentreSteer podcast, a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners.
Welcome to the CentreSteer podcast, podcast number 145 for April of 2025. CentreSteer is a monthly podcast for Land Rover enthusiasts, hobbyists, and owners around the world. I'm John Kostic, and joining me today are fellow owners and enthusiasts, Harold and Morgan. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, and it was 12 years ago this month that we did our first podcast, an April Fool's Day joke that kind of stuck. But if you were listening last month, 144, the completion of our 12th year, that was the gross episode. This episode is more than gross.
Would that be gross plus one?
It's just more than gross.
Okay.
That would be, I don't know, I'm not sure if that was, I think that might be 13 years.
Yeah.
Or over 13 times 13, episode 169. I have to look up my numberology there. But So we've gone to 11 and we've completed the delve for 12. Now begins the thirst for 13.
Very nice.
Far as we can tell, Dixon is lost somewhere in the hinterlands of upstate New York.
Doing something important somewhere for someone and can't be bothered to show up for our little show.
Our guest this month is Dan Marcello. Dan is president of Brooklyn Coachworks and one of the founders of NJLR, the New Jersey Land Rover Club, which was quite active for a number of years. Dan was also the artistic editor and one of the three main partners of the much-regarded Alloy and Grit magazine. Dan has had a number of Land Rover-related adventures around the world. Stay tuned to hear us talk about those adventures and more after the news.
And you probably won't see this because there's no video associated with this podcast, but I believe Dan might have been the least clothed guest we've ever had on the show.
Well, he was only visible from the waist up. And
thankfully.
Yes.
We
So
don't
we do
need
not
to
know what
Don't
happened
need
below.
to know.
No.
I
And
believe he was in Florida, though, so at least it wasn't New
You know.
England.
Likely excuse. Let's just hope he put on some pants for us at least.
there is a little bit of swearing, but I think I got it all bleeped out. So stay tuned for that. And also, I had the opportunity to drive the new Land Rover Defender Octa. You'll hear about that during the news. It was something. Thanks to our Patreon and Buy Me a Tea subscribers for their support. You too can help support the podcast through Patreon, Buy Me a Tea, or sporting a t-shirt or sticker. Patreon supporters receive bonus content, including 10 questions, our Land Rover-oriented question and answer lightning round. We will be posting Dan Marcello's 10 questions here in a few days. It's now time for the North American events calendar, sans Dixon. So we'll be taking up the duties here. We refer you over to anarch.club. There's a calendar there of all the Anarch member club events going on that we know of. As the person who updates that calendar, if it's not on there, let me know. There's ways to get to us. You can get your event put on to the calendar. Some things that are of note. The Spring Robersonia Trials coming up in Robersonia, Pennsylvania, May 2nd through the 4th. The Weenie Roast taking place May 16th through the 18th in Vermont.
You going to that one, Morgan?
I do intend to, yeah, so I'm hoping to see everybody there.
The Rover Rendezvous taking place May 29th through June 1st. That's at the Pacific Rover Club. That is up in Olympia, Washington. And the Sully Hull Society is doing the Sully Hull Trail Run. That is taking place near Denver. And that is happening on June 21st, which is a Saturday. And then also in June is the 11th annual, which is the Northeast Land Rover Club. That's taking place in the mountains of Pennsylvania, July 24th through 27th. So those are some events coming up here in the next few months. And also of specific note, I wish to let you know about the Rover Ball, which is coming up on June 21st through the 28th. And this is Justin of Lucky 8 is driving a Freelander all the way across the United States from New York to Los Angeles. And he's doing this as a fundraiser for Anarch. And you can follow what's going on. You can join in what's going on. Everyone's welcome. You can stop by when he stops for lunch or dinner or the evening. You can follow along in your own Land Rover if you wish. He will be going the speed limit because this is, even though he calls it the unreliable cannonball run, it is not a race. It is simply a drive at posted speed limits.
It's a different objective. The original cannonball was to get there as fast as possible. In this case, the objective is just to get there, just to make it without braking.
Exactly. And also back. He's not only is he going to drive from New York to Los Angeles in the Freelander, he's going to be returning the same route. At least I believe the same route from Los Angeles.
That man is an optimist.
The registration not only helps support Anarch, but you can also bring him parts if you have any, because there are not many parts left.
That's true. That's true.
Anybody got a stack of windscreens out there? Cam bearings, timing belts?
Windscreens, you can just get away with toothpaste after the drive.
So goggles, you'll need some goggles.
Oh yeah, bring him welding goggles. There you go.
I do plan to join for the first leg of the journey from New York to Akron. Join in if you wish. I plan to bring the LR3. That's going to happen. I believe that's June 21st, which is a Saturday. It's when everything kicks off.
You got a tow hitch on that LR3, right?
I do.
You could drag a dead Freelander behind you for your leg of the journey.
Sure.
You've even got a trailer, right?
Sure. Yes. I think it's time. There's a lot of news.
Oh, I thought Harold was referring to a dead Freelander, maybe sans some bricks.
That is actually what I was thinking.
I figured that's what he was.
Spare parts in case.
I figured that's what it was talking about. Yes. Shall we get to the news then?
Sure.
Why not? Unfortunately,
we don't really want to talk about this news, but we can't avoid it much longer.
That is correct. We can't. I've got 3 stories. I'll read parts of them, and then we'll have some conversation about it. And first up,
it's a good news, bad news, really, if you think about it.
JLR has announced it will pause all shipments to the U.S. as it works to address the new trading terms after tariffs were imposed. A 25% levy on car imports came into force. This would have been a couple weeks ago now in April. One of the several measures announced by U.S. President Donald Trump, which have sent shockwaves through the global supply chains. The U.S. is the second largest export market for the U.K. car industry. And the European Union is first after the European Union. In a statement, JLR spokesperson said the company was taking some short-term actions, including a shipment pause in April, as we develop our mid to long-term plans. The Coventry-based car manufacturer, which also has sites in Solihull and Wolverhampton, said the U.S. is an important market for JLR's luxury brands. More cars are exported to the U.S. from the U.K. than any other goods. In a 12-month period up to the end of the third quarter of 2024, the trade was worth £8.3 billion, according to the U.K. Trade Department. That's from the BBC. Now, the NPR had some additional information I thought was interesting. The number of cars made in the UK dropped 13.9% to 779,500 vehicles last year. More than 77 of those vehicles were destined for the export market. UK factories export cars, Nissan's Qashqai and the Juke, BMW Mini, Toyota Corolla, as well as Land Rover and Jaguar models. UK car makers have already taken steps to lessen the immediate impact of the tariffs by building stockpiles in the U.S. before the increase took effect. The SMMT, which I think is a trade organization, figures show that the exports to the U.S. jumped 38.5% from a year earlier in December, jumped 12% in January, and 34.6% in February. This was manufacturers like JLR trying to get ahead of the game in terms of getting inventory into the U.S. before the tariffs were implemented. British car makers shipped 8.3 billion pounds, $10.7 billion worth of vehicles to the U.S. in the 12 months through September, making cars the single biggest export to the U.S., according to government statistics. And then this third article is in The Guardian, and this is how it will impact around Solihull and the towns that rely on JLR. From mountainsides to deserts or even just around town, Land Rovers are used around the world. For a time, however, many of the sturdy vehicles' distinctive oval plates were branded with the name of the West Midlands town. And this is a quote, "It's an icon for Solihull and it's synonymous with Britain." Robert Mills, who's 70 years old. The town is home to 121 hectare, 300 acre JLR car plant, which employs more than 9,000 people and is one of the last bastions of the UK's waning automotive industry. On Wednesday, the U.S. president announced sweeping global tariffs, 25% tariff on UK cars. Mills, a former automotive consultant, began his career with industry, was thriving, is worried what this means for the future. Quote, I'm appalled. It will kill JLR here in this town. There could potentially be job losses because JLR exports enormously to America. The knock-on effect is going to be enormous. The tariffs may not just affect workers at JLR. Another worker, who I think is retired, said with the car manufacturer as an electric mechanical engineer before he retired. Tony was an electrical engineer. Quote, everyone is affected, right down to the cafe where they eat, people who wash their overalls, and even the people that maintain the robots. That's all local. In 2024, British car production fell to its lowest level in 7 decades, barring the coronavirus pandemic, amid weak demand and a shift towards electric vehicles. In the same year, China's share of global electric vehicle market soared, with Chinese EVs up 76% of the market by October. There's your tariffs.
So the good news is people don't have to worry about getting stuck paying huge tariffs on importing a Land Rover. Bad news is because you won't be able to import a Land Rover. You won't be able to get one. And the even worse news is it's going to hurt the company. And the worse than that news is that it's going to hurt the whole Midlands area, economically speaking.
Yeah, it's definitely sobering for sure.
Yeah.
It's very concerning. I guess the only good news is they seem to have stocked up quite a bit. So this month, you probably will be able to get a Land Rover, unless you're on one of the wait lists, because I bet those wait lists are just going to start growing now.
Yeah, I think the immediate effect is unknown, although they did stock up. I think this is more concerning for the newer models that are supposed to come out in next year, assuming the tariffs remain in place. And that's the big question. If the tariffs remain in place, what's this going to do for the full electric Range Rover that's coming out? What's this going to do with potentially the quote unquote baby Defender that may or may not be coming out?
And if the tariffs don't remain in place, you still got to figure, is this going to affect the new product rollout because of the economic hit that's going to happen in the short or medium run, you might say? And if there is a backlog of orders because people couldn't get new ones, are they going to try to satisfy that first before they roll out the new models? Or are they going to focus on rolling out the new models and then people on the waiting list are going to wait even longer?
And there are certain models, like the Defender is still the new Defender is a very popular model. And I believe that a lot of those are still being pre-ordered, being put on a wait list. That list has come down a lot.
Yeah, they were just finally getting that list under control, and then this happens.
Yeah.
It's very possible the effects are going to be more felt on the Defender model and maybe the Discovery, less so on the Range Rover. Because let's face it, the folks that can afford the new luxury Range Rover, an additional 25% on top of $200,000, probably won't notice as much.
Yeah, I think was that last month we actually calculated the tariff on one of those special editions was $37,500 just for the tariff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of course, the hard part is right now, even if you were willing to pay a higher price because of the tariffs, they're not importing any.
No, you'll just pay a higher price to compete with somebody else to get the one that's left on the lot.
Yeah.
I think before it's done, you're going to see trucks going for over sticker value, like significantly over stick value, because it can be bidding war.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
JLR did say it was a pause for the month of April. We are coming to the close of April, and there's been no announcement as what they're going to do into May, and we may hear that shortly. No one knows. That's really what it is. Just, I think if you really need a new Defender or a new Range Rover, especially I think the quote unquote cheaper models, go buy one. I think that's the way to go. If you want something specific and you want to order something specific and get some special kit, don't know if that's going to happen. The other thing I didn't see here, and I don't know if you did, Harold, is how does this impact the import market for older vehicles and parts. Does that 25% tariff apply is addition to what's called the chicken tax here? And what about parts being brought in? Because I've heard different things. I don't know if you have
I
any
have
clarity.
too. I don't have clarity. It's because I've heard different things as well, but I think we should prepare ourselves for the possibility that it will be as bad as you think it could be.
I do recall reading that Rovers North is no longer, or at least pausing, doing routine orders. They're now waiting to get orders that once it fills a container, then they will have the item shipped.
I had heard something about that as well. Their practice had been for quite some time to fill a container and have it shipped, but that was just such a frequent thing for them that it wasn't really a big deal. But yeah, I think they are, if I remember the same thing.
I think they were bringing in a container every month, so it wasn't that big of a thing. But yeah, a lot of stuff now they'll have on their website saying available in 9 to 20 days, which means they're air freighting it. Special ordering stuff, which I guess they're pausing. Yeah. I hadn't seen that, but that makes sense to me that they would do that.
The other thing that is, for all of this, everybody's not sure exactly what is going to happen, what is the actual policy, what is not, what's affected. But I'm a little concerned because so much of the newer vehicles, the parts are actually electronics parts. And the tariffs on Chinese imports, especially electronics, are significantly higher than even the 25%. So there's a whole other side.
Unless it's an iPhone. So if you can power your vehicle with an iPhone, you're in good shape.
Yeah, we're going to end up with an interesting situation where, your digital backup cameras that are required in new vehicles are probably just going to be an iPhone taped to the bumper. Going to be a lot less expensive.
That is the news of what's happening with the tariffs, which is really boils down to things are on hold, don't know. And I'm sure you'll see what JLR does here in the news, but we will continue to report.
Next month, we may have something entirely different to tell you. It's hard to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope it won't be worse than a pause. Yeah, it's going to affect the Land Rover headquarters and the production of the Range Rover in the UK as their headquarters. I'm thinking that, I'm wondering what will happen with the non-UK produced vehicles, like out of Slovakia with the Defender and the Disco 5. They have the same 25% tariff because the tariff is just the import of vehicles made in non-US countries.
For now.
That's the read, sir. That's the current read.
For now, but as we know, that's all subject to negotiation, and the Trump administration is willing to change those numbers up or down depending on how he favors the leadership of that country.
Yeah, and we've done a little research and found that Slovakia has the highest per capita vehicle production of European nations. So they're likely to get hit hardest financially as the manufacturer of vehicles, not just for Land Rover, but for lots of marques.
Their labor is cheaper than Germany.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So the question becomes, especially with Trump, will he end up making a deal with Slovakia that helps out the import of Defenders, but doesn't help out the import of Range Rovers, and so therefore still negatively impacts Land Rover? There's just too many
variables.
It's we all
chaos.
Hope it gets better, not worse.
Looking at this Slovakian specific, they also, not only do they have Land Rover, they have Volkswagen, some Stellantis models, and it's said that 73% of Slovakia's total exports to the U.S. consist of cars and car parts. So I think the point here is that whatever tariffs there are, Slovakia will get hit very hard. So it's not just Land Rover getting hit, and Slovakia in turn gets hit.
So Slovakia, what I'm getting from that is Slovakia is not in a position to fight the tariffs. They're going to be motivated to kiss a certain president's ass and see if they can work a deal to get their country a reduced rate.
All right, let's move on. I think we've talked for that for a good bit.
Yeah, we've been edging into politics a little too much. Let's move along.
It had to happen, but let's move on. Next is new plans for UK's biggest EV battery plant shared. We talked about this before, but there's now some more detail, which is that Agratas, Tata Group's global battery business, is investing £4 billion in the former Royal Ordnance Factory site just off Junction 23 of the M5. Bosses said 4,000 jobs will be created and enough battery cells annually to supply 500,000 vehicles. The Gigafactory will be one of the largest in Europe and will initially make batteries for vehicles like the Range Rover, Defender, and Jaguar brands. Under the plans, the plant will also supply other car manufacturers as well as producing commercial energy storage. The site will eventually produce 40 gigawatt hours of battery cells annually, enough to supply approximately 500,000 vehicles. By the early 2030s, the facility could provide up to 40% of all electric vehicle batteries for the UK domestic market. They're making plans and things are happening.
I think they're beyond plans. Looks like they've broken ground from the photos and everything. So that's really good. Certainly I really hope we'll be well past the tariffs and all of that by the 2030s. But yeah, it'll be good for them to have battery production within the UK, especially if they still remain separate from Europe.
Right. And as the article stated, they're looking towards satisfying the market for UK domestic electric vehicle needs. So they're somewhat planning to insulate themselves from tariffs to a certain extent.
It's a smart move. And certainly the Land Rover's models that will get the batteries first are the biggest, heaviest vehicles. So they'll need lots of batteries.
The ones that need the most batteries.
Yeah.
Next up, the new Chinese SUV that looks like a Land Rover Defender for £3,000.
And we also can't get it here.
I'm not sure you want it. A pair of motoring experts have shared how drivers can get behind the wheel of a brand new Chinese-made vehicle that looks like the Land Rover Defender for less than a tenth of the price. Sergio Galliano and Nathan Bain are presenters of YouTube channel Supercar Blondie and regularly test a wide range of new models to suit all budgets. In a popular video, the duo buy a Tianjin Menjia EV, a small electric SUV that looks a lot like the Defender but costs just £3,000. While it sounds like a bargain, Sergey noted that the model is somewhat rough around the edges compared to the real deal. In particular,
is that a case of you get what you pay for?
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Yeah, fit and finish, not the best. And
it's also significantly smaller.
And significantly cheaper. So if all you need is basic transportation that kind of almost looks cool, and that might be the way to go.
And here's why they do this in China. This is something I had not heard before. A number of brands produce models known locally as Old Man Joy's cars. Tiny electric models that are typically bought by elderly motorists who are looking for a vehicle that looks stylish but at a low price. Unlike the models they are based on, these cars typically sell for less than £5,000, but often have a top speed that is limited to around 30 miles per hour and do not feature anywhere near as many safety features.
30 miles an hour? You're going like a bat out of hell.
Getting inside the car for the first time, Nathan highlighted that many Old Man Joy's cars features the same awkward driving position with the accelerator pedal nearly in the middle of the vehicle. He added, okay, let's turn it on and have a look in the interior. The things I'm noticing straight away, and this has been on every fake model, is the accelerator and brake situation. I don't know why they insist on putting the accelerator in the middle of the car. So maybe it's an actual CentreSteer.
I think it's maybe so that you definitely know that's the accelerator and that's not the brake. The brake should be right in front of you.
Right.
You don't want to be hitting the accelerator right next to the brake thinking it's the brake. So if they put the accelerator like way over in the next time zone, it's much more deliberate.
Taking the fake Land Rover off-road, Sergey found that it had a particularly rough ride quality and an interesting air conditioning system fixed to the roof, but enough power to get up some hills. He continued, quote,
some hills. I like that.
He continued, quote, all right, there we go. There's a lot of sound in here, but at least I have some kind of air conditioning. No way. These are like computer fans.
So with fit and finish like a series truck, do you even really need
Why?
something that's literally an air conditioning system?
Like, why? So there you go.
Wow.
There's your Chinese knockoff. It's not the same exact thing, which at least for this particular model and maybe some of the other ones.
Chinese knockoffs never are the same exact thing, but this one doesn't even try.
No. It just looks, it looks like the same exact headlights. That's the only, other than that in this picture.
Because the real headlights are probably made in China, so it's probably not hard to get them.
And they're way cheaper there. Yeah.
Yeah. So here in the US, people buy really expensive fast cars for their midlife crisis, but apparently they buy fancy looking but barely functional vehicles for their
senior years,
later
sir. Senior years.
Yeah,
The last car you will ever have.
My guess on the putting the accelerator pedal in the middle is that when it inevitably dies, the vehicle, you can just remove the floorboard and Flintstones it wherever you need to go.
Or your passenger can take over and just reach over and grab the wheel, and they can press the pedal for you. But yeah, my takeaway is, that Old Man Joy car. I think that's a great name. I think I might have to rebrand my shop.
I think that's a great idea. There we go. Harold's
Yes.
Old Man Joy Shop. All right, next, Land Rover's official Apple CarPlay retrofit kit won't come to the U.S. This is a very niche thing. Modern infotainment systems can give new life to aging cars. Land Rover Classics knows this, and that is why they just announced a new upgrade for the L322 generation Range Rover built up until 2012, adding a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, unless you live in the United States. The new system, which retains the Range Rover's original touchscreen and buttons, is only available for Range Rovers built between 2010 and 2012. Land Rover says it's compatible with every stereo system offered during those years and promises users will be able to seamlessly transition from the legacy interface to CarPlay or Android Auto. Land Rover has yet to release pricing, but says buyers in the United Kingdom and Germany will receive a 2-year warranty for the upgrade. A company spokesperson confirmed that the company has no plans to offer the retrofit in the U.S.
It's a wide variety of models, namely one that was for 2 years of production.
Yes.
And it sounds like they're not replacing the radio. It sounds like they're adding maybe some wireless Bluetooth capability. That's what it sounds like to me. Then you have to go and buy a compatible radio.
It also sounds for Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto one, you do have to have a touch screen, and those years definitely did not come with a capable touch screen.
It said it was going to reuse the existing touchscreen, didn't it? Yeah, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Which retains the original touchscreen and buttons.
Oh, but again, go back to what Morgan said. They didn't have a capable touch screen.
Exactly.
They didn't have a touchscreen that might still be functional today. That's what, 12 years ago now? 13 years ago? For
Right,
the
I mean,
newest one?
Think of how recently the Pivi touch screen has even become usable.
I'm thinking this is a software upgrade now. That's probably what that is.
I think that's all it is, a
That's all it is.
software upgrade.
So you would then have wireless Bluetooth, or I know Bluetooth is wireless, but you have the Bluetooth and you have better responsiveness maybe on the touch screen and maybe some
Right.
other functions.
So it's probably a little module that sits behind the dash to drive the Bluetooth part of it with an antenna and stuff, and then the rest is all done with software upgrades to provide a minimal amount of functionality to a screen that is the very first thing that shuts down when your alternator's having issues.
The one thing that is probably why it's not going to go further than the UK and Germany is because it is a module, or at least bare minimum a software update. There was no OTA updates back then, so it's going to have to be a software update that a Land Rover dealer plugs in and installs, and then they want to warranty it for a couple of years. So they just don't want to deal with that hassle outside of those markets. I'm sure that something will come along for the US market, whether it will be official or less expensive than just buying an Android entertainment system to drop in there. We'll see.
Next up, Land Rover Defender Sport. Full details on 2027 Baby 4x4. Land Rover is gearing up to launch a long-mooted and highly anticipated smaller entry-level Defender as a crucial new model in its electric car portfolio. The rugged compact 4x4 is rumored to have been on the cards for several years, but has never officially appeared in JLR's production roadmap presentations. But Autocar spy photographers have spotted the model testing for the first time, confirming development is well underway and indicating it could arrive in the dealerships as soon as 2027. These first images reveal it will have a close visual relationship with its full-size namesake in its chunky, straight-edged proportions, but it will be a smaller, lower riding proposition and less geared towards off-road performance. Although the company declined to talk about the new model, the name Defender Sport appears to have been added to the Land Rover website, albeit only viewable from a search engine. It's also feasible that the Defender Sport could replace the aging Discovery Sport model line, given the apparent shared positions of both vehicles and questions about the Discovery Sport's future. Now sold as a plug-in hybrid only, the Discovery Sport is the oldest model in JLR stable, having arrived in 2014 and have been given substantial facelift in 2019. Sales were originally strong following its launch, but have been dropped off since COVID, and the second generation model has yet to be confirmed. And there's more later here. The timing of the car's arrival, this would be the baby Defender, which also might be called the Defender 80. I can't remember if this article mentioned or something else. The timing of the vehicle's arrival also makes sense because Mercedes-Benz is writing a new entry-level compact SUV based on the Defender G-Class rival, known internally as the Mercedes as the little G. The Defender Sport will be sibling to the next generation Range Rover
Well,
Evoque.
that just sounds like a rapper name, doesn't it?
And the Range Rover Velar. The latter is expected to arrive first, and all three will use the new EMA platform. These models will be built at the Hellwood plant on Merseyside, which is currently undergoing a £500 million upgrade to prepare to produce EVs. Electric power is the primary focus of the 800-volt platform, with motors to be built in-house, batteries to come from the forthcoming Somerset plant. However, JLR announced last year that it was scaling back EV plans and instead ramping up production of plug-in hybrids after surprising demand, which means the EMA-based cars could possibly be fitted with electrified combustion drivetrains to boost appeal. That is the baby Defender. And I have another article on the baby Defender. We can take a look at that one. There's also some pictures.
Sounds like a Freelander for a new generation.
One of the articles did mention that that's basically what it possibly could be. This is from Auto Evolution. They also have pictures of it from the spy photographers. They say, Land Rover, despite trippy camouflage and occasional fake cladding, the brand new vehicle has faired fenders, flat roof, upright tail, and several other bits and bobs. The windshield is more raked, the headlights are slimmer, and the C-pillars lean forward. On top of this baby Defender is obviously smaller. Just see if I can skip ahead on some of the stuff because we've already read it. They also make mention to the baby G-Wagon. It's expected to have an Android Volt technology, fast charging, supposedly taking less than 18 minutes to recharge the battery at connections up to 350 kilowatts. The battery packs are understood to be made at the Somerset facility. The Defender Sport / Defender 80 should take place at the Hellwood facility. Unofficially, there have been reports that suggested JLR might be a couple of years away from being unveiled. Presentation supposedly taking place sometime in 2017 for the Sport or potentially the 80. And there are spy photos if you want to go take a look at it.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing it without all the camo, because they've added an extra dimension to it because some of the graphics over the windows, and they've got this thing that kind of looks like an angled C-pillar. It makes the whole thing look like it's a little hatchback that's wearing a refrigerator box.
Yes. As one of the articles hinted or stated, it looks like the C-pillar has got that forward angle, but it's really hard to tell whether it's actually angled forward or whether it's just the camo.
This one here, but look here, this looks like a shadow more than it does showing
But
black.
if the whole outside of it is cladding, because they really don't want you to see the profile.
They did put cladding on the lower portions. Could be cladding there too.
Yeah, those cladding on the lower part could be cladding on top of cladding. The whole back half could be one big clad. Yeah. And there's a goofy sort of rail over the top of the doors too that's confusing.
Oh, yeah, I see.
The doors especially, they have not only cladding, but padding, it looks like. So they're definitely just trying to...
Because to me, it looks like a hatchback with a refrigerator box taped onto it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it actually ends up being.
The Autocar took what they saw and then did a rendered version of what it might look like, and maybe possibly see it. The one thing that stands out to me is the headlights. Like, it doesn't fit. They're a rectangle versus being that semicircle.
It's really hard with the render to get any kind of scale. Honestly, with the spy shots too, it's really hard to see any kind of scale. The departure angle looks fine. The approach angle does not. But again, it's supposed to be a small, lower profile vehicle.
And it may not be the same capability as a full-size Defender.
Sounds like it's going to be electric. It could be a two-wheel drive electric. We don't know.
Next is the full-size Range Rover electric prototype has excelled in its latest winter testing and development cycle. And there's an official press release from Land Rover, but I'm going to read from Edmunds because they got to do a test drive. And this is the 2027 Range Rover EV hands-on in the Arctic. If you want to see the biggest concentration of prototype cars in the world, head to the Swedish town of Arjeplog in the winter months. About 60 miles south of the Arctic Circle is where many of the world's manufacturers gather to test vehicles in extreme conditions. Future vehicles including the new Range Rover Electric, which I was invited to sample firsthand. And this is Alistair Weaver from Edmunds. The Range Rover EV will reach U.S. showrooms in 2026, badged as a 2027 model. Prices are yet to be confirmed, and who knows what the tariff situation will be by then, but the EVs will be based on the Range Rover Autobiographies trim and should cost around $170,000 in today's money. At first glance, the electric Range Rover is almost indistinguishable from the more familiar gas-powered alternative. This is deliberate. Car shoppers will be offered the same vehicle, but with different means of propulsion: gas, plug-in hybrid, or fully electric. Long wheelbase versions will also be offered for more interior space and will be able to specify a third row of seats. The philosophy of the car is also familiar. Unlike some of the startup EV brands, Range Rover has resisted the temptation to imbue its EVs with ludicrous performance. Matt Becker, JLR's vehicle engineering director, is my chauffeur for a few laps of the ice circuit, cut into the frozen lake, and talks about effortless progression. It's a play on Rolls-Royce old dictum of ample performance. What he means is that the Range Rover EV is designed to be fast enough to feel luxurious while being easy to drive. Range Rover drivers don't want to be bothered by things. So we don't want to engineer a vehicle that's too reactive or too aggressive, he said. This is borne out both by the stats and the subjective impressions from the passenger seat. There are 2 electric motors, one at the front and one at the rear, delivering all-wheel drive. The Range Rover produces 542 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque, which is not exceptional in EV terms, but still delivers a decent amount of pace. The battery has 117 kilowatt hours of capacity, which is also competitive rather than exceptional. Land Rover is targeting 300-mile range on a single charge, something we'll seek to verify on Edmunds EV range test. A lot of time and money has been spent ensuring that the battery can deliver decent range even in cold conditions. Recognize that many Range Rovers live in the snow belt. The EV has also been tuned for one-pedal driving, both on and off-road. Lifting off the throttle slows the vehicle, even to a stop, as it tries to recoup energy to recharge the battery. It should make the Range Rover a relaxing car to drive. The rest of the vehicle...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about all the hydrostatic lawnmowers I've driven, and I freaking hate that one pedal business.
The rest of the vehicle is familiar Range Rover fare, which is no bad thing. It's moved progressively upmarket in the past 55 years, and the standout minimalist design continues to seduce affluent buyers. There's a little shout out to Jerry there.
Yeah, $170,000 if the tariffs hold. That's $42,250 just in tax. Plus the luxury tax, if that's still around.
Oh, yeah, good point.
That one pedal operation, when I first read it, it almost sounded like they were using one pedal. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, no, there's going to be a brake and there's going to be an accelerator.
Yeah, most of the electric vehicles at this point have that as a feature. Yeah. Some of the hybrids do as well. It basically it uses regenerative braking.
Right. It just switches into regen when you lift. It's not like a full braking effort.
Yeah, it adds resistance, doesn't it?
It actually is a little different than that. It basically, whatever position you are keeping the pedal at, it's basically going to try to maintain that speed. As you lift, it will regen a little bit if it needs to, or coast down. It's a little more like driving a manual and just not having to do the clutch. But
It feels like it's adding resistance then.
yeah.
Because when I drove that Series 3 back at an Arc Jubilee, it had regenerative braking. You could turn it on and off, but when it was on, you did get that. It started, you could feel it slowing down. There was like a drag on the whole system. I suspect this will be similar, but probably not as abrupt.
Which creates a much more realistic series truck experience for you, because as soon as you take the foot off completely to the floor, you instantly slow down.
That's exactly right. That's right. All right. Moving on to the new Range Rover Velar EV is the Baby Defender's more premium sibling. That's a weird title, but this is also a prototype from Auto Evolution. If you haven't heard, the all-new Range Rover Velar EV will be the brand's first production model to utilize the EMA electric vehicle architecture. This construction should also underpin the Range Rover Evoque and will be the foundation for the Land Rover Defender Sport and the Discovery Sport. In terms of visual appearance, the 2027 Range Rover Velar EV has a distinctive low roofline and is akin to its internal combustion-powered sibling, the current Velar. It has different front and rear fascias, a clamshell-like hood, flush-mounted door handles. Due to the positioning of the rear doors close to the rear wheels, some say this model might even have 3 rows of seats, with a third row being suitable for children. However, there's also the possibility that it will just have superior cargo capability. Both versions would represent great upgrades for this premium compact crossover. We still don't know how much the upcoming 2027 Velar, though we can tell you that it will be an electric vehicle only with no internal combustion engine options. So there is your new Velar, which that's a first. I don't think we had heard that it was supposed to be EV only.
Yeah, I can't remember. And at this point, I believe that the Velars have resolved some of the performance issues that the early models had. I know some of the people who bought was it the 4-cylinder in the first generation, just felt the performance was absolutely abysmal. That should be easily resolved with an electric drivetrain.
And if it's electric only, they can optimize and specialize for that, but it also gives the identity of the Velar something that's its own.
Right.
Since there's such a proliferation of different Range Rover models, the identities of the different models are getting muddied. So if you've got one that's the EV leader of the pack, so to speak, then maybe there's something there.
Except they're supposed to do the full-size Range Rover and the all-electric model at the same time.
Right, but it won't
agree.
be exclusive. The full-size Range Rover will still be available with other power plants, but if the Velar is going to be only EV, then it's really the specialty electric whatever.
Or this could be similar to what Jaguar's doing and being its dedicated electric line.
I think another part of it is with the Range Rover, the full electric Range Rover, they are starting with the autobiography trim level,
right,
for adding the full electric. So if you want a lesser trim level than
if you want an electric Range Rover you can actually afford, this would be it.
Right. Yeah.
And if it's an electric only vehicle, it might also be like the place they could roll out the new technologies as they want to test new things. They roll it there first. And like I said, it can be the leader of the electric Range Rover platform, and then they make those things available on the other models.
Since the Velar is mainly designed for on-road and less off-road, they could then focus their electric efforts on just off-road, on on-road driving. And that could be its niche, its bias.
I think the focus, Range Rovers in general, people that buy them don't usually plan on doing a whole lot of off-roading. Unless they're buying them like as a third owner, then all bets are off. But the people rolling the Range Rovers off the lot are not planning on hitting the Rubicon.
They do want a vehicle that performs well in less than stellar conditions, whether on road or just on a green lane or a gravel road somewhere.
Snow, rain.
Yeah.
And they want people to think that they could, but chances are they're not planning to do it.
And we don't know much about the electric drivetrain for the Velar. But they have confirmed that the full-size Range Rover all-electric model is going to have 2 electric motors, one for front and one for rear. So it could be different for the Velar.
See, the Velar would be the great place to roll out the hub motors. Again, being the leader, the pinnacle electric vehicle, they could test these things on the Velar before they roll it out to the big ones.
It's a good idea.
Yes.
All right, next up, view the exterior photos of the 2025 Range Rover Sport PHEV. Sorry, I was having my eyes were
lost in the names.
I was lost in the name, and the way it broke on the display here, it's Land, and then next line, Range Rover Sport.
And we don't even know which trim level this is.
You are
add that onto the end.
Yes, that's true. It's just normal. I'm not sure. Let's go through it here. There's some photos. This is from Car and Driver. Just a little bit of info. The previous generation Range Rover Sport PHEV relied on the Turbo 4 for its internal combustion. This new one uses a turbocharged 3-liter inline 6. The inline 6 mates with an AC motor to produce a net 454 horsepower, 487 pound-feet of torque. Under the body lies a 32 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, which in our testing was good for 48 miles of range, just below the EPA estimate of 53. In our hands, the Serene Sport hustled its way from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. And there's no value proposition. Our test model started at $96,725 and rose to $106,865 with options. That is your 2025 Land Rover, Range Rover Sport PHEV. Available now.
Or maybe not.
That's a valid.
Be careful what you say.
Okay. Good point. This article came out April 23rd, so maybe they stocked up. If you're considering buying a new Defender 110, especially the X Dynamic, there is a point of view POV test drive that you can see. It's about 16 minutes. We'll have a link to it in the show notes. The guy doesn't talk. He just walks around the vehicle, drives it, makes lane changes, accelerates, decelerates, so you can do a virtual test drive.
So it's POV porn for Rovers.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, it's one of the interesting things about these is that they often, and this one is an example of it, use binaural audio. So they basically have a microphone placed at the position of each ear. So you can actually hear the difference in the road noise from your position, which honestly, for a vehicle review is great. Do you hear more road noise out of one ear and cabin deadening in another ear? So very interesting. I really think somebody should start doing these for series vehicles so you can see the poor driver bang their elbow, trying to get the door closed, maybe rip off a rear pocket if they're driving a Series 2 or 1.
Except I don't think there's much point for binaural audio because it's going to all be engine and drivetrain noise no matter what you get into. So
I don't think there's a SD card big enough to hold all that file while you're going to try to get to 40, 50 miles an hour.
I don't know. It could be really interesting, though, to do like the soft top versus hard top comparisons so somebody really can get the full effect of the sound echoing through the hard top.
All right. Next is from the Fast Lane. They picked up a Disco 5, a used Disco 5, and they are testing it out, seeing how it goes. And they have a video here that's about 11 minutes where they take it on their closed off-road course. It did pretty well, kitted itself pretty well. So if you're interested in that, I've been thinking about the tariff situation. D5s might become the new hot ticket in Land Rover world.
Because it's all that's left on the lots?
And also the underpinnings are from the D5. I mean, they started with those underpinnings and tested it out for years before transferring it over to the to the Defender. There is some similarity there.
Well, that's just Land Rover heritage for you because that's what happened the first time around.
And it's got all the same kit. It's got terrain response. It has air suspension, except it's got that ungainly, questionable. Look, there's the slant. So maybe there's a slant forward in the C-pillar. Maybe the baby Defender will get that.
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
Like the Discovery Sport. This is not the Discovery Sport, but still.
No.
And there are plenty of people who off-road the Disco 5 and lots of third-party upgrades for them at this point.
There are people that like them, and good for them. That's great.
Yeah.
Although, considering the Velar discussion we had, maybe the Discovery becomes an EV-only model, and it's Land Rover's EV-only model where they can test out EV activities.
It certainly makes sense on the Discovery Sport if it's going to share the platform. And the Defender, the baby Defender, I think they should name that the Old Man Joy Defender.
Yes.
Oh, that would be OMJ, Land Rover Defender OMJ, Old Man Joy. Next is the Defender Octa. Diamond in the rough. Desert driving in the Land Rover Defender Octa. This is from BBC Top Gear. They were able to go down to Africa and drive it. So I'll read you some of this, and then we'll talk about my impressions, having also driven one. It's about bandwidth, creating something that can do no preposterous things off-road while also behaving in normal conditions. So Octa is the answer to a disparate bunch of formerly rather niche questions. A dune-bashing, quasi-Dakar rally rider disguised as a long-distance family hauler. A rock crawler can also drift with mindless abandon. Celebratory, too, with a Land Rover name now parked in the basement as the company bigs up individual model brands. Defender has an enormo hit since it arrived in 2019. Its much-loved but antiquated predecessor was shifting 12,000 units per year at the end, with the current model is doing those numbers every month. The business case initially assumed 55,000 annual global sales, so double that, plus all those highly spec'd Range Rovers equals heady profit. Here's the flagship. The Octa has been 3 years in the making. It's extensively re-engineered. 13,960 additional tests were carried out, and the landing cost £161,000. About the name, the Octa takes its inspiration from the diamond octahedral in shape, equal parts beautiful and tough. It's also something LR could register in 175 territories without fear of legal entanglements. Maybe SV just wasn't distinctive enough. Age and familiarity haven't withered the Defender's design, though the controversial Square of Despair is still there. In Octa disguise, it rides 28 millimeters higher than the regular car, 68 millimeters wider, with muscular wheel arch extensions. The design team has resisted the temptation to fully murder out the Defender to the point that it's about as subtle as a huge high-performance SUV could ever be. Thermal management was key. There's also a heat shield around the fuel tank and triple insulated fuel lines. In fact, there's about 12 miles of piping on this thing. Wheel articulation in its most extreme setting is up to 100 millimeters to 500 millimeters, and its approach, departure, and breakover angles are all improved. Where the old supercharged 5-liter V8 was a bit of a party animal, like John Belushi at Animal House, the new and more emissions-friendly 4.4-liter twin-turbo with mild hybrid feels surprisingly restrained. There's 626 brake horsepower, 553 pound-feet available here, but it's not up all in your face. Maybe not entirely true. It's a BMW unit, but receives number of model-specific modifications, including a reinforced cradle for the transmission and a new oil sump. There's unique prop shafts, larger diagonal drive shafts, and reinforced joints. The engineers have also introduced high tensile steel in the rear differential because the Octa generates a substantially higher amount of axle torque. The ZF 8-speed box is familiar, mated to a selectable high and low transfer case. It's in the V8 job description that it must emit a sound like rolling thunder and under load. So the Octa has a bespoke quad pipe exhaust system whose back pressure has been finessed to optimize performance without hurting its ability to wade. In fact, it can cope with up to 1 meter of water, more than any previous Defender. One short push of the rather cheap-looking Octa button on the lower part of the steering wheel takes us into dynamic mode. This perks things up considerably. Steering, throttle, suspension, and exhaust nodes all get more alert and responsive. But the secret sauce here arrives with the 6D Dynamics air suspension tech. The name refers to the 6 degrees of axis a rigid body can move in a 3D space. Rather than traditional anti-roll bars, the Octa uses hydraulically interlinked triple-valve semi-active dampers that provide independent compression and rebound control. Yep, that's the same tech that McLaren uses in the 750S. There are also new control arms, links, and knuckles. While nobody is going to mistake the Octa for a Mac, there's a suppleness to its ride, and its body movements are well controlled. It really handles. Head toss is usually an issue in SUVs, but there's little sign of it here. New for Octa are body and soul seats, which use vibro-acoustic, AI-enabled tech and a quartet of transducers to deliver tactile as well as aural audio. A neat trick augmented with a 6 wellness programs that push the idea of the massage seat to the limit. The seats themselves are also new. They're seam-free and supremely comfortable. The Octa can hit 62 miles per hour in 4 seconds and tops out at 155 miles per hour on all season tires. Now we engage Octa mode and really go for it. This is the point where the Defender waves goodbye to those well-bred rivals and goes next level. New software algorithms identify rough surfaces by monitoring suspension movements and the control modules and the dampers and the ABS. The Octa has 400 millimeter diameter front brake discs with 6-pot Brembo calipers, 365 millimeter diameter jobs at the rear. A boost system minimizes fade. It stops as well as it goes. The tagline on this is spot on. It's the rock and roll Defender, only with a lot less roll. That's the Octa. At least that was Top Gear when they were in Africa. So I was able to test drive Octa recently. Justin of Lucky 8 was passing through on his way to Rove at Winter Green. He allowed me to drive it for about 30 minutes, and he also let me use the Octa button.
And he's still speaking to you.
He is. My one-word review of the Land Rover Defender Octa is bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers. I think I squealed, I laughed, I chuckled, guffawed, all the things you might imagine when pushing down on the accelerator, especially when it was in Octa mode and that enhanced mode. You have to keep both hands on the steering wheel. Because the front end, it launches you. And this, I didn't even use, there's a launch option. We didn't do that at all. You feel the front going left to right, even though it's not, but it feels that way. There's just so much power going to the front wheels. You have to use both hands on the steering wheel to hold onto it. You can't imagine ever it having a stick, being a manual transmission. There's just no way you'd be able to control that vehicle. You have to use both hands on the steering wheel. Now, if it's not in Octa mode, yeah, you can feel the power and you can one-hand it, but not in Octa mode. The suspension is insane. That 6D system, you're level all the time. When you corner, you don't feel yourself moving side to side laterally at all. There's no roll, none of it. It's just like rock steady at any speed. Again, amazing, absolutely amazing. It's reacting quickly. When we were on, Harold's familiar with this area, we were on 119 coming north, and Justin said, is there like an off-ramp here? And it's like, yeah. He said, take that off-ramp. Is anybody behind us? No. He said, hit the brakes, like hard. Hit the brakes hard. It stopped like that. Stopped on a dime, but there's no nose dip. You don't feel that at all. You're just stop. Again, that's suspension. Absolutely amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Yeah.
You sound appropriately speechless.
I was, man. We took some video, which I think Justin will post here shortly, about me taking the test drive. And he says, you're going to be impressed and amazed. And he wanted to know what I thought. It was like, yeah, this is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. It's amazing. It's start to stop. It's stunning. We also tried those seats. You could feel it. I thought it was like magnets, or no, I think he thinks it's magnets that are doing something. I thought it was like basically bass speakers. That's kind of what it feels like to me, like pushing through your body.
Either way, magnets.
Right.
True. Exactly. Yeah. Good point. And actually, my comment was, it really isn't needed on this vehicle. We really need that on classic Defenders, series trucks, where you're bolt upright, you can't move. Your
problem with it on a series truck is you'd need another alternator just to power the seats.
Who knows? Maybe you can crank it up enough to simulate a series vehicle.
Yes,
if it's getting too comfortable for you.
Yeah, and the last thing of note is Justin had put on that rear box that he has as an optional extra that Lucky 8 will do, and it's on the passenger side in the back, and there's a nice little space there. It was cool. It was actually a neat little thing that he has that box that you can put something in and get quick and easy access to something small. Thanks to Justin. I'm glad he did. He was passing by. He's, hey, you want to test drive? I was like, yes, please. Yes, please. It is absolutely bonkers. It really is. It is, as Top Gear said, it's rock and roll. It really feels that way.
How are Justin's eardrums doing after half an hour of you squealing like a schoolgirl?
There'll be a video, so we'll see. We'll see. It was something amazing. And it sounds great. We didn't turn the radio on at all because we were filming. You get to hear the outside. It's still quiet. You're up higher. You can feel it up higher than a normal Defender. Very cool. Thanks, Justin.
Now, are those actually available, or did he pull some strings to get one?
No, he bought that one. That's one he bought.
Yeah.
I understand that, but they're available for anybody to buy now?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
They were.
Yeah.
Well, there may still be some on the lot here.
But they were actually dispatched to the dealers. It wasn't something he had to special order or do something funky.
Correct. But he did put on the Lucky 8 wrap and he put his box in the back.
Of course he did.
So, yeah. Yeah, as he should. As he should.
As he should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his company vehicle, so it should be representing the company.
And he's got to play with it to see what could possibly be upgraded on it.
What would still stay attached?
Yes.
When you push that button, it seems like it wants to spit off all the extra weight.
Although Top Gear is right, that button is flimsy and cheesy. It's just like that clear plastic that feels flimsy. All right, next up then, let's move on to Land Rover has revealed a new old soft top V8 Defender, yours, for £234,000. Also Top Gear. This is a new soft top Defender brought to you from the good folk over at Land Rover Classic, which means it's a new old soft top Defender brimmed with a big mighty V8 petrol engine and a big mighty price, because this new car that looks like a very cool old one will start from $234,000 of your very finest, very stiffest upper lip English pounds. For that, you get the greatest hits of Defender, starting with that delectable body shape. It's a two-door convertible, which LR Classic calls legendary, spun off the short wheelbase 90 chassis. Land Rover Classic sources a donor vehicle from the 2012 to 2016 run of Classic Defenders and then lavishes each individual one with warm words of encouragement and a hearty pat on the back.
Those are some expensive words.
Yeah.
They go on to say, kidding, each one will be comprehensively enhanced and re-engineered, so it's as factory fresh as possible. There's a bespoke canvas hood with tie-downs and webbing on a frame inspired by the original North American Spec 90 version. This is the level of geekery Land Rover is operating at. You too can geek out via a raft of customization possibilities from a wide range of colors and materials and lettering and wheels, and expanding to stuff like wine coolers, surfboard racks, and so on. Essentially, if you want it, Land Rover Classic will make it so. What's not negotiable is the standard fit 5-liter V8 producing 399 brake horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque, matched to a 8-speed ZF auto and a spot-on 4-wheel drive. LR Classics has a thorough go at the suspension too, fitting new coil springs with revised rates. Read quite springy, Elbach anti-roll bars, and Bilstein dampeners. The brakes have been swapped out for 4-pot Alcon units, slotted over 335mm front discs and 300mm rear. Land Rover Classic says this allows for confidence-inspiring stopping power. Understatement, that, the Top Gear says. This is a quote from Dominic Elms, Land Rover Classic boss. Quote, "At Land Rover Classics, we work with clients to provide a one-to-one bespoke service so they can enjoy their vehicle safe in the knowledge that it has been designed and engineered exclusively for them by the original manufacturer, the people who know it best."
Did you say the price starts at £234,000?
Yes.
At today's exchange rate, that is $311,000 US.
And you'll note it is a 2012 to 2016 vehicle, sir, not available in the United States.
And they probably recommission it and put a 2025 VIN on it. So it's not available anyway. But for that kind of money, you could probably get 2 of them built at any high-end shop in this country.
Yeah. And even a NAS
Go out and
If
buy
you really want to.
just
Well,
buy a
now
NAS.
the NAS 90s are pushing close to six figures on their own. But yeah, NAS 90
Yeah.
with a bikini top will do pretty much everything.
And
Maybe
this
not
is-
quite as well, but it's functionally the same thing.
And this is an auto too. It's not even a manual.
Because
Yeah,
they
this is
can't put a manual behind their 5-liter V8s, or at least they
Yeah.
won't. That's just a standard powertrain for them.
It's about as close as a NAS 90 you can get in the UK.
Unless somebody's
Yeah.
crazy enough to buy a used NAS 90 and repatriate it.
Right.
All right, next is classic Land Rover Defender gets battle-ready upgrades. U.S. Resto Motors Helderberg have unveiled the Bellatrix, a $1 million luxury war machine based on the bones of the classic Defender. Helderberg describes the heavily modified Bellatrix, which is Latin for female warrior, as a meticulously engineered, limited edition armored Land Rover Defender that redefines the standards for both security and sophisticated design. To create the Bellatrix, the exterior of the Defender has received heavily reinforced with multi-layered glass windows, bullet and explosive-resistant body panels, and ram bumpers. Helderberg claims that the Bellatrix can withstand 44 caliber magnum bullets, grenades, and even an EMP electromagnetic attack. Under its strengthened skin, the Bellatrix packs an enhanced version of the standard turbo diesel inline 4 found in Defenders of the era, mated to a manual transmission. Helderberg has fitted a larger turbocharger and custom ECU, as well as valved exhaust system to maximize outputs. The engine and radiator are both armored to protect against damage, ensuring the Bellatrix remains functional when under fire. The price for one of these glitzy weaponized machines, a cool $588,523 American. Helderberg has kicked off production of the Bellatrix with deliveries set to commence from May of 2026.
I think they need to bring it to us and let us find out just how bulletproof it actually is.
Grenade proof, sir.
All right, let's round up some
Yeah.
grenades, preferably the rocket-propelled variety, and just see what happens.
And next, we've gotten out of new Land Rover news, and we're coming towards the end. I know there's a lot of news this month. The best British car of all time, it's not an Aston Martin or a Land Rover. According to a study which took into account a number of examples made and how they have stood the test of time, the original Mini is the most iconic car ever made in the UK. Built from 1959 to 2000, the Mini's incredible use of space in such a tiny saloon made it a hit with just about everyone, from families looking for their first car on a budget to celebrities and racers in all forms of motorsport.
Let's not forget bank robbers, especially ones wanting to get away in subway tunnels.
In Italy, factoring in variants such as the van, estate, and pickup truck, 5.3 million examples of the Mini were produced, with factories set up in Italy, New Zealand, and South Africa to cater for overseas demand. First launched in August 1959 as both the Austin 7 and the Morris Mini Minor, the original Mini was designed by Sir Alec Izagonis, response to the growing number of German-made bubble cars in the UK roads, which featured 3 wheels, a small motorcycle engine, and a rounded body. With a list price of just under £497, the Mini did not offer much refinement, but had enough room for 4 occupants, a reasonable boot, which could be extended by lowering the lid, and an 848cc engine that could reach 70 miles per hour.
Eventually.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
Eventually. It is also UK roads. So
But the nice thing about that is, though, that it takes a while to get up to speed, but you don't have to slow down going through the corners.
Yes, that is. Oh, yeah. It's so great. You really don't have to.
Where did Land Rover land on the 10 most iconic UK cars? Number 1 was the Mini. Number 2 was the Jag E-Type. Number 3 was the Land Rover Series and Defender. Then the Aston Martin DB5. Then the McLaren F1. The Range Rover Mark I was number 6. Rounding this out was the Ford GT40, the Cheltenham Lotus 7, Ford Escort Mark I, and the Lotus Elise.
If it weren't for some of the sportier vehicles on this list, I probably would have mistaken it for the top clown cars. Sorry, but
All good.
like Carol said, you don't have to slow down for the turns.
That's right. That's right. Next, here's why there are only 2 SUVs left with a manual transmission here in the U.S. The manual gearbox is on the way out. There's no getting away from it. Most consumer vehicles on the road today are offered slicker and more relaxing automatic transmissions or single-gear CVT units, as these provide a smoother driving experience for those who simply want to get from A to B with as little stress as possible.
And for those who can't be bothered to learn how to drive.
They also sense in performance cars, as drivers can better focus on the road due to not having to worry about nailing every shift. Autos can also change gears quicker than a human with a manual shifter. The only vehicles that are shipped with the option of a manual tend to be enthusiast geared ones who don't care about comfort or performance or who want an engaging driving experience. This is the reason there are only 2 SUVs that retain manuals in 2025.
The other big reason is efficiency. It's not about the speed that you can shift between gears. It's also about the efficiency. And especially once you get into an SUV, trying to meet those efficiency numbers is a lot harder.
Further here, they say the Exodus has become so widespread there are only 2 SUV models in the U.S. that can still be brought brand new with a manual. These are the Ford Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler, which will both set you back under $40,000 should you fancy having one in your life. And that's basically the article. You can certainly go out and read the whole thing if you want. But yeah, the interesting thing that I found was there's only 2 left, especially in the SUV ranks. And the cost of the Wrangler, the Jeep Wrangler, is $32,690, and the Bronco is $37,995. You think about it, I know it's money, but it's close to the entry-level Defender, which is about $55,000.
It's hard to find a decent vehicle for under that kind of money anyway. That's just what stuff costs now. It's
Right.
certainly not cheaper to get a manual. Like in the good old days, manual transmission saved you a ton of money. If you didn't need air conditioning, saved you a ton of money. Didn't want power steering, saved you a ton of money. But now I think if you want a manual, that's manual transmission. A lot of old folks still call it a standard transmission. Now the standard is an automatic and the manual is an extra cost option.
And the other interesting thing to note is those are both U.S. brands. While a lot of the brands overseas have manual transmissions in other countries, that it's not worth them producing those in low numbers here in the U.S., especially for SUVs and pickup trucks.
Even all the hot hatches, the Volkswagens, they're not selling like they used to. I know there are people that still want them.
A lot of them now are
small.
coming with the dual clutch automatic, which is technically not an automatic transmission. It's a manual transmission, but the computer is doing all the work for you because it's doing it like in milliseconds or less in some cases, far faster than a human can.
All right, finally, we have one story. We're going to start with the end of the journey, and then we'll go back to the beginning. And this is from the BBC. Man takes old Land Rover on 4,000-mile coast road trip.
It was at a chiropractor's office.
A man has completed a charity challenge to drive a 69-year-old Land Rover 4,000 miles, 6,400 kilometers, around the British coast. Derek Herneman set off from Lynmouth, Devon, on the March 8th in his Series 1 Land Rover, a 79-year-old, 6-foot square caravan in tow, which is a trailer here in the United States. He has named the pair George and Mildred after the 1970s sitcom. The agricultural engineer from Exmoor said the challenge had helped him raise £12,000 for bowel cancer, UK, and the Alzheimer's Society. Mr. Herneman, who set off on his 71st birthday, said the journey had been an absolute blast. Mr. Herneman said he had averaged about 100 miles a day and managed to reach the top of Scotland, London's Trafalgar Square, and Land's End in Cornwall. He was greeted by a convoy of about 50 other Land Rovers from the final leg of the journey between Blackmore Gate and in Exmoor and Lynmouth. Quote, "It's amazing to get there. I just told George not to break down in the last few miles," he said. And George is a Series 1.
Really? That's all it takes? Just tell your truck not to break down and it won't?
Yes. Although
try that.
He did say, despite a few breakdowns, the journey had been a lot of fun. He added there had been a few scary moments to contend with on the roads. Quote, "Coming down the A1 with lorries passing me at 60 miles per hour, sent the Land Rover and caravan from one side to the other every few minutes."
Oh, I bet the caravan was taking the Series 1
yes.
across the road, wagging the dog, as they say.
Yes, that's the end of the journey, but there's more information about him and what he was doing at the beginning of the journey, which this is from the end of March. I'll read you this BBC article, and there's pictures. There's more pictures on this one. A 69-year-old Land Rover called George is being driven around England while it tows a 79-year-old caravan called Mildred in a bid to raise money for charity. Derek Herman started his journey. The agriculture engineer is fundraising for bowel cancer and Alzheimer's Society. Said he was traveling around England, mostly on roads close to the coast. He hoped to end the journey in Lynmouth. He said he encountered some difficulties with a Series 1 Land Rover. George has had a few issues in the last few days. It's nothing but to be expected at that age of Land Rover. He said the main problem so far has been with the vehicle's ignition, although there have been some big brake problems. Quote, thanks to FaceTime and my very good friends Nigel and Will, we seem to have been able to sort things out, unquote.
Brake problems. Can't imagine that. Just look at the trailer. It's having to stop.
Which is called Mildred. The caravan he is towing measures 6 feet square and holds a bed, a cooker, and storage space for food and clothing. He said, I'm basically towing a bed. The door to the opening of the caravan is over the front hitch, which is quite rare. It's a Safari Minor. These are very rare. There could be just 2 others in the country, unquote.
The rest have rotted away, I'm assuming. Because putting the door on the front of the trailer just doesn't sound like the most waterproof place to put it when you're driving through rain.
Then again, you're driving, in his case, driving a Series 1, so who cares about waterproof? If it's drier than the Series.
Yeah, because the Series 1, typically it rains harder inside than it does outside.
And he didn't specify whether it's a waterbed or not in the...
It is now. The question is, did Mildred, the caravan, which is a Safari Minor, did that come in that color scheme, or did he have it painted to match his Series truck? And it looks has the same wheels, too. Almost the same wheels. No, they're Steelies, but they're not the same. Sorry, I see it now.
I'm going to guess that he had it painted in
there we go.
That color scheme.
Deep bronze green and limestone, it looks like to me.
Yeah.
Good on Derek for what he's done, and I'm glad he was driving around the UK. That's wonderful.
Well, yeah, I'd rather have him there than clogging up the roads here. Imagine all the motorists behind him were not happy because
Don't tell Steve Owen.
the Series 1 isn't slow enough on its own. You got to put a trailer behind it to really just understand how much you can piss off modern motorists.
And imagine trying to do a round the coast trip in a Series 1 with a trailer here in the U.S. That's a lot more than 4,000 miles.
Shout out to Derek for driving around the UK. Go out to the link in our show notes and check out the article. You can see the pictures of a Series 1 and the caravan, George and Mildred. Go check that out.
I'm just really glad not only did he raise a bunch of money for those 2 charities, but also had fun, which is the most important part.
How do you not have fun driving a Series 1?
It's an old man Joy Rover.
And on that note, that is the news for April of 2025. And now welcome to the CentreSteer podcast. Dan Marcello, president of Brooklyn Coachworks, which I assume is in Brooklyn, but you're talking to us from Florida. Welcome, Dan.
Snowbird time. Yes, we are in Brooklyn, but yeah, down here in Miami for January, February, and March. We just opened a new showroom in West Palm Beach. So I'm down in Miami. I go up to West Palm Beach to meet clients and all that. Yeah, trying my first snowbird time, and it's pretty good so far.
Nice. Do you guys deal just at one specific model, or do you focus on something?
We used to do series. I used to do Range Rovers. I don't know. Right now I'm getting out of that. We'll do a series here and there, but it's, mostly our bread and butter is Defenders. It's just,
that's where the market is, isn't it?
It's the market. I can restore them for that price and sell them for this price versus a Range Rover. It's much harder to get that out of it. Yeah.
And I think the more different models that proliferate, it's hard to be good at all of them. You can be good at one, or you can be mediocre at all of them.
True. Very true. Yeah. And the Range Rover, you get so many people that want a classic and they want a brand new interior. And so you can't get this anymore. I got to wrap all this broken plastic. So yeah.
Or you're going full custom. And it's a different clientele, I think, for that than you'd get with the Defenders.
Yeah, series are easy. They're close enough to a Defender where we could do a series, but most people I feel are like, I want an everyday car. And I'm like, the Defender's a little bit more everyday than your series.
Definitely.
Well, it depends on your tolerance for pain.
Then you have to start explaining leafs versus coil suspension. And then like, what?
Power steering versus break your elbows.
Exactly. Yes. How long have you been in business?
We started right before the pandemic. Technically, it was 2018. I didn't really incorporate like late 2018. 2019 hit, and I was selling cars to people or Defenders to people, Land Rovers. And then, yeah, the pandemic hit, which threw everybody into a spiral. Yeah, it was pre-pandemic, dabbling in it. And then pandemic on was full on. This is my daily job. We got to fill these 5 to 10 orders this year. Yeah, it's been good since the pandemic.
So let's go back. How did you get into Land Rovers?
I saw my very first one I grew up in a little town in upstate New York called Enwell. It's right outside of Binghamton, a little hamlet. And I saw my first one, which I assume was going to the 50th anniversary.
Oh.
It was I think it was 98, I think it was. I came down and I drove by this local bar and I saw this green Defender there. And I was like, man, this thing is cool. What is this? Didn't really know what it was. Seeing the back and the front, it was similar to a Jeep, but it just wasn't a Jeep. It was just the stance was bigger. It was bolder. It was more square, had nice shoulders to it, where I grew up with my friends had Jeeps, so we would go off-roading. The Defender, to me, when I saw it that first time, spoke just different. This thing had a presence to it that most, like you guys know, most other cars do not have. That kind of drew me into it. Obviously, researched it a bit. Watched Camel Trophy videos, watched off-road videos. I was still in high school. I couldn't afford one. Yeah, I ended up going to Rochester Institute of Technology, finished my degree there, moved down to Brooklyn, worked in various ad agencies. And yeah, my first good job, which paid decently, I was like, all right, I'm going to take out a giant $30,000 loan and buy my first 1994, already 20-year-old Land Rover Defender.
So at least you had your priorities straight.
I had my priorities.
As soon as you get money, the first thing you're going to go out and
buy a stupid car, which you would...
This is a 110?
This was my NES Defender 90 number 916.
Oh.
Yeah. It was on eBay, which was even crazier. I was on D90 Source and I was researching them, and I wanted to, for some reason, I always wanted a black one. I don't know, which is weird because I don't like black Defenders now. Always wanted one, and then somebody posted a green one up there. It was on eBay. Ended up buying it. I think it was $29,900. Yeah, took out a fat loan, paid the guy, flew down to South Carolina, met the guy at the airport with my friend, picked up the car and drove 16 hours back home, top off, just like having the best time of my life with my buddy. And the funny thing is, we get to the George Washington Bridge and you got to pay the toll. And I get there and I get up to the toll booth and the guy in the tolls, you're good to go. The guy in front of you paid for you. And I was like, no way. I was like, all right, this was a good purchase.
Wow.
Yeah.
this is what happens when you drive cool stuff.
Happens once in a while. Breaks down.
Yeah, not often enough, but it does happen.
And there's a reason not to use Easy Pass. So you can't do that with Easy Pass.
Wow. So yeah, drove it home. Yeah, love the moment I had it. Met up with some Jersey guys maybe a couple weeks after that and just took it off road, which is insane to think that you just buy this fresh car. It's not new, but to me, it's a brand new car, and I'm already taking it to Roush Creek and beating the piss out of it. But that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a car that I know I could drive anywhere. I could go off-road with it. I can escape anything. Yeah, just that escapism is always what kind of got me into it. I like that, like, I can get out of my life somewhere and you don't know where I am, but I can always get back with my car.
You sound like almost every diehard Land Rover owner. It's just, you bought it, you take it immediately, go on off-road, take it on the trip.
Who cares if, you can't afford it and you mortgaged everything you have to buy it? Why would you do that if you're not going to risk it all and just go throw it into the woods?
Exactly.
Gotta use it.
My payments were like $650 a month. I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But it was my love.
Yeah, but you're smiling right now. I know this is an audio podcast, but we got you on video. You're smiling ear to ear, grinning the whole time while you're talking about this. So yes, it was worth the investment.
Exactly. Yep. Love it. So,
even if you end up having to live in it, it was still worth it.
True.
Do you still have it?
I still have it. And that's the one car I cannot get rid of. Not that I like to get rid of my cars. I love every one of them, but that one was just mine. And now I'm going to restore it again. It's pretty bad. Dixon's seen it. It's the rear frame split squeeze. It's like horrible. There's battery acid everywhere inside. It's pretty bad, pretty worn. It looks like an old Series 3 right now.
It's 30 years old. It's time.
I know. But now I drive all these beautiful new ones. and I'm like, I got to get to my own. So I think I'm going to restore it this year.
No, your own always comes last. You should know that by now.
I know. When you got customers, yours comes last.
You have now 3 years to get ready for the 80th Land Rover celebration, and ARC will have another large celebration. So you've got 3 years now to get ready, because you should bring your 90 there.
I will. Yeah, it'll be good.
Did you name it?
No, never had a name. That one never had a name. It had a Hulk name for a while because it was on. I was your typical guy that buys a Defender, and the next day, let's put 35-inch tires on it, put a 3-inch lift on it, and it's horrible.
Right.
So I can't fall. It was went through everything. We did the Pine Barrens maybe once a month. I used to go down with the Jersey crew and we would tear it up. The thing was unstoppable on 35 mud terrains, KM1s. The thing was just unstoppable truck. Had lift 14-inch shocks all around. Remote reservoirs in the front. I had the Bilstein 7100s. The thing was awesome.
But on the turnpike, it probably wasn't very polite, was it?
No, it wasn't played on turnpike. 8 through wheel bearings. Yeah, just like horrible drive. The 35s are cool, but yeah, I would never put those on.
Yeah, they're cool until you have to live with them.
Yeah, until you have to actually drive it every day. Do a 33.
Did you do any other mods? Did you turn into an Overlander, rooftop tent, anything along those lines?
No, I had winches. I had the old Rockware winch bumper on there. I don't know, worn 10 M10 maybe on there. I had the half doors. It was a soft top originally. I went down to Philadelphia maybe 2 weeks after buying it, and I bought a POE top. So I had an actual hard top for it, which is nice. Full SD cage, rack, ladder. Yeah, just your typical Coniston green, 94, square lights in the back, which I like. Kept it simple to off-road. It still had the V8, the 3.9 in it for most of its life. Not recently, maybe about 10 years ago, I think I swapped it out to a 300 TDI just because the diesel was more efficient. Dropped it down to a 33-inch tire, standard lift. Basically modified it back to what we build now at Brooklyn Coachworks because that's the best driving car you can have right now.
Well, it's proper.
Yeah, proper, make it simple. It always worked that way. Yep.
A little more civilized.
Yes.
So then what happens after the 90, the D90?
After a D90, I bought I had a Series 2A for a quick heartbeat, and I sold that because the engine was blown on. I didn't want to work on that. I had a Disco 1, 94 Disco 1 white, a beautiful car. It had white steelies on it. I had the old Michelin XCLs, not the XZLs, but the XCLs, the directional. I had a Camel Trophy bumper and winch guard from the 95 Japanese truck that I bought from a guy in England. So I fitted that on there. Had the SD rack. The thing looked like a camel disco, but it was just your kind of typical Alpine white.
2 questions. So was the D1 automatic or stick?
Automatic.
It was automatic. And so you said you got from the Japanese car. Does that mean you brought in the Honda Disco?
The Jazz 90 he's talking about.
No, this was from the Japanese, the 1995 Japanese truck. This guy was parting out in England. He had it, and he was getting rid of the or that was on a Japanese truck.
Okay,
So
yeah. Okay, got it.
I ended up buying that. I have it now still. I'm going to try to remake it because nobody makes that winch bumper or the brush guard anymore. I still have that piece. I got to get my fabricators to make it, and we were going to probably sell it. But it's a beautiful piece of kit. Makes it look that kind of camel style, which I like. Yeah. After that, I had a guy in Long Island we put it on Craigslist. It was a Range Rover Classic, Great Divide, $500. Yeah. Brakes didn't work.
The bumper's worth that much.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. I think the rear tailgate's worth that much.
The upper tailgate on any Classic is worth more than that if it still works.
Yes.
It's still around. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, ended up buying that, brought that back. So I had three Land Rovers in Brooklyn at the time, which was unheard of. I had no alternative street parking in the neighborhood, so I had them all lined up. And at this time, I also had a KTM 640 Adventure motorcycle as well. So yeah, I was in the neighborhood, just had like Land Rovers laying around, motorcycles everywhere.
Scattered through the borough.
Pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad. Probably reaching out to Ben and Dixon and say, hey, let me keep this property for a couple of hours, but we'll turn out for a couple of months.
What happened to the Great Divide?
Great Divide, I sold to a guy in Jersey. He ended up parting it out, or he did something stupid to it. I don't know, he painted it or something. The floorboards were gone. The rear, it was gone. It had the badges, it had the I think I kept the bumper and sold that later, but it was pretty much gone. The Disco I sold to a guy down south. That was still a strong car. I still like that car. I still think that's the best of the three out of all of them. The Defender still looks the part, is the coolest one. But if you're just going to get an everyday driver, the Discovery is phenomenal. Your AC is perfect. It's comfortable. Doesn't have the electronics that a Range Rover has, but it has still the cool factor. I remember you used to get them for $2,000 back in the day. Yeah,
And plus, once it's rusted out, it's parts for your Defenders.
exactly. Take the whole chassis below and you're just go.
It's parts for your Defender business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had those. What else have I had? Oh, recently I bought a race truck out of England that did the Dakar 3 times. It's
Wow.
It's called a Rally Raid. This guy, Paul, that's his last name. Can't remember his last name. Paul, I ended up buying from him. He does a lot of like race cars. Ended up picking up.
That's a Defender?
It's a Defender shell. The whole look of it's a Defender.
Was this from the Bowler folks, or is this something different?
Oh, custom made, all 2-row chassis. Hey, I gotta send you guys a photo. It's BMW M57 straight 6 in there, 6-speed. Axles from a D2, transfer cases all D2 out. Really cool, really fucking cool truck. Drove that from Leeds in England down to Milan and then over to my shop at Asiago. So it's over there now. And currently I had a 1988 Camel Trophy 110 that was in the 89 Amazon event. So I have that as well. I had a series of 55 Series 1 86-inch. Yeah, I don't consider the ones I sell my cars, but I did have a 49 we rebuilt. Yeah, I've had other ones, I think. I can't really remember right now. But
Well, so the 110 Camel Trophy, can you tell us a little more about that?
yeah, some guy, random guy in Canada had it. It was funny. This lady I follow on Instagram, she doesn't have a big following, but she's a big Land Rover lady. She was over in Canada, and she was going through this guy's backyard.
Terry Ann Wakeman?
No,
Okay.
this lady, she's maybe got like 100 followers out of Germany. Videoing this guy's backyard. He's got a couple of Jags, Land Rovers, whatever.
Does the guy know she's there in his yard taking pictures?
Yeah, they were like friends.
So she's not just like stalking then. She's with permission and okay.
with
Just
permission.
checking.
Yeah, with permission. And I'm watching her story and I just get this quick glance of yellow. It was a quick video. And I'm like, all right, like this yellow is only a sand glow yellow. I don't know what else this could be. So I sent her a message and I was like, can you check out this yellow one for me and see what that is? So she sends me a photo and it had the kit on it. And I was like, all right, this looks pretty real. Ask the guy if it's for sale. So she asked the guy, he said, yeah, I'm looking to get rid of it. I'll give you a call later. And guy never called me for probably a month. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, man, this guy doesn't have my number. How am I going to get a hold of him? He calls me out of the blue one day. And he's like, yeah, I still got it. I'm looking to get rid of it. What do you want it for? And I'm like, what do you want for it? I'm going to throw it back in his
Right.
plate. And he tells me he wants 30,000 Canadian for it. I said, I'll be up the next day.
I'll give you the money
I'm
now.
grabbing my car
Yeah.
keys right freaking
Yeah.
now.
Yep. Wired him 10 and I drove up there maybe a week after. This was right before Guy Fawkes, Dixon. Me and Brennan drove up, loaded it on, imported it, and brought it over. And I was like, this was a steal for a Camel. I've always wanted one. I mean, all of us always want one of those things. You just can't find them. Prices are up now. Yeah, this was a good steal. The car is in horrible shape like all Camels are, but
Did it actually participate, or was it more of a support vehicle?
It did 3 of them. Yeah.
Did 3. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
this is one that I usually hear 2. This is the only one I've heard that done 3.
And it's still usable.
Yeah, it's usable. So it did
Wow.
it did the 89 Amazon event, it did the 92 Guyana event, and then it did the 95 Mundo Maya event. So basically Land Rover Brazil brought it over, and Land Rover like Central America, South America basically farmed it out to all of the events. It's a left-hand drive Defender. I thought it was special to have it do 3 events, and then after the 3rd event, it was sent to Ecuador, I think, and they painted it all blue. It was for this boys club, like a scout club down there. So they painted some of it blue, most of it was still yellow. And then the guy from Canada ended up importing it into Canada from there. And the guy that owned it originally in Canada was a National Geographic photographer that was on the Camel Trophy. So he ended up for a little bit.
So he knew what he was getting.
He knew what
Yeah.
he was getting, I think. And then he ended up selling it to the guy that I bought it from.
Was he working out of that truck when he was working for doing the pictures?
I don't know. I can't get a hold of him. So the guy
I'd be
that
curious to see if he bought it because it was his truck.
I want to trace back and see if I can find out who this guy is.
Do you happen to know what teams it participated with? Was it the Brazilian team or?
No, it wasn't a team one. It was
It was a support one.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're
that
not team specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't have any of the names on it, the shell stickers and all that. But yeah, it's funny. It has the Warren was A274 on there, which was the original one from Amazon event, and then it kept that winch through the next couple of participation events. So it kept like all of the stuff from the 88, 89 event on there.
Well, sure, it's a Rover. If it's not broken, they're not going to change it.
Yeah, I'm not going to change it. Yeah, it came with the, was it 2.5 turbo? I brought it back. It was basically burning its own oil, a pretty bad motor. So I ended up taking out the entire.
Eating itself, as all 19Js eventually do.
Yeah, I started one day and it started, and I was like, shut that off right away. I was like, we're replacing.
While you still can.
Yes, exactly. Right before it burned down. Yeah, so I put a 200 TDI in there. I rebuilt a 200 TDI, fit that new R380 Stumpy in there, and redid the whole driveline. The axles are new, all the braking systems all new. Outside is still totally inside is totally which I love. Yeah, I still have the original motor. Obviously, we can rebuild that and fit it, but the 200 TDI is nice. I can go to an event with it and drive it.
And it's the easiest conversion you could ever do. They just bolt up in place of the 19J and no one's in the wiser.
Yep, exactly. I was like, don't got to move nothing. Just slap it in there and we should be good to go.
And if somebody really cares about authenticity, it's a reversible change.
Yeah, exactly. I thought about putting a 300 or a Cummins or making it more of a driver. The 200 is fine. You're on 7.50 rim or tires. You can go 70 easy on it. Yeah.
For a truck with that kind of provenance, you don't want to mess with that by putting too much of an engine in it.
Exactly.
Embrace it for what it is. And the 200's a nice little upgrade. That's something Rover would have done themselves if they needed it.
Yeah. So if I sell it in 20 years, I have the original motor. We can put that back in. I don't got to modify anything.
Did you restore the paint, I assume?
No, still horrible. It's, Dick's seen it. You can fit your fist through the bulkhead. It's like, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I made you a bulkhead swap on it and just roll some Sango on it and fit it so you don't know it's different. But yeah, it's not horrible. It's salvageable. It's just, you can't restore. I feel like you shouldn't restore a camel unless the camel's actually burned down and all that. But you got to keep the paint. You got to keep the stickers. You got to keep all kind of crap that there.
So there's no real reason to change the bulkhead unless the doors don't stay on it anymore.
No, it's just like the hood doesn't stay on because the hood latch is completely gone. So you open the hood and it's one off. And there's a tire on the hood, so that's always moving. And
so that's ballast. They'll keep the hood from coming off.
Yeah, constant air conditioning coming in, so it's fine. It's fine.
That's good in warm weather, right?
Well, it's a Defender. It has climate control.
Yeah,
Whatever it is outside, it is inside.
Speed reference too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very much. What's your intent for you just want to keep it going? And do you take it to rallies or anything?
Yeah, I'll probably bring it around. It's running good now. I'll probably bring it a couple of rallies. We're trying to do a trip this year. I may send it out west and do an Arizona trip and then go through Colorado again. Yeah, I just want to keep it original. I want to hold on to it. I feel like it's buying a Porsche 917 from Le Mans. It's give me 20 years. Everybody will know what the hell that is and be like, wow, okay, I'll pay Jerry Seinfeld. You want it? Hey, $1 million. Then I'll sell it. Right now, yes, they're worth money, but no, I think it's a piece that you hold on to because I know it'll be a retirement thing for me. If I ever get too old and I want to get rid of it, that's the car that will make you the money.
And the nice thing about it is that it's honest in its crappiness.
Yep.
And no one's going to look at it and suspect you made a copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the ones that look too nice and have way too many accessories bolted on that are totally fake.
Yep. Yeah.
Those ones bug me, but the honest crappiness is valuable, I think.
We call that patina, Harold. Patina.
No, this is a little different.
Yeah. Beatness.
It was used and used well for legit purpose.
And they're only original once, as they say.
Yeah. So tell us more about the Series 1 you had. It was a 55?
55. That was a great truck again. My good friend with Alloy and Grit, Steve Hoare, ended up sourcing it for me. It was down in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I think I paid $4,000 for this. This is when like Series 1s were like Land Rover guys wanted them, but nobody else wanted them. Paid $4,000 for it. The thing rode. That was probably my best, most reliable Land Rover I've ever had. Oh, I did have a supercharged Sport 08. That was great. But that Series 1, I would get in it every day. I left
Opposite ends of the spectrum there in that sentence.
completely different, but it just ran always great. I even snapped an axle on the road and just kept going, put it in 4-wheel, kept going, not a problem. Yeah, it was a great car. I kept it in New York. I would have the windshield down. I would have no top in it. I would have 4 feet of snow in it. I'd come out, push the starter button, let the snow heat up and drain out of it. Yeah, I had that for maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And then I came home from Mar one year. Somebody threw a cigarette in it, lit the whole car up in fire. Each car melted, the steering wheel was melted, all the plastic on the dash, my blinker was a plastic blinker from like a Bentley, I think. That melted. I was devastated, but I just rewired up the one wire that cut on it, drove it to my car wash, rinsed out the whole thing, and just kept driving, and it was fine. And then
It took you, what, a half an hour to get running after it burnt to the ground?
yeah, I had to change the tire because the tire popped.
Like the Toyota Hilux on Top Gear.
Exactly. Yeah.
Half an hour with a few tools and you got it running again.
Yeah, ran fine. And then some guy ended up buying it. He owns this like apple orchard or something, or some kind of, I don't know, some like a beer company down in Virginia, which is crazy. I'm telling this story right now because he bought it from me for a ridiculous amount of money from what I bought it for. And then I'm down here in West Palm Beach, and it's down here in West Palm Beach. And the guy reached out to me because another guy took a photo of it and he put my card on it. And the guy was like, oh my God, you're the guy that originally owns it. So I'm going to meet him next week and go see my old series here. Wow. Yeah,
Nice.
crazy.
Yeah.
I want to buy it back. I know.
I wonder how many of the melted things are still on it.
I know. It's funny when the guy came to buy it too. He's like touching all the burn marks. He's like, man, this patina is amazing. Is this original patina? I'm like, yeah, it's original to the car because it burned. He's like, really? This is great. I'm like, okay, it's fine with me. Yeah.
Wow.
Loved it.
Wow. Nice.
There you go. There's a new business thing for you. Toss a cigarette in a truck,
Make money.
sell it as authentic patina.
It was a good car, Dixon.
It was excellent. Did the Arts TV at Ben's a number of times. It was Guy Fawkes. Was at a whole bunch of rallies.
Yeah, I brought it to a lot of places. It was always just push that switch and the thing fired up and it drove. It drove like 55, no problem. It was a really good motor. Yeah, I missed it.
Was that a North American one? Did they bring it in, or do you know if it came from somewhere else?
I don't know. I can.
It was a nada.
Okay.
Was it?
Was it?
Yeah, you probably got the serial number. I know that. I don't even.
Dixon keeps all this info
yeah.
on serial.
That's not-
He's got it memorized. What are you talking
Yes.
about?
He's got more photos than I got.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of Series 1, tell us about your drive with Brandon with the Tim Cooper special. That was a cross-country trip.
That was we ended up buying that. I don't remember the year of that one. Series 1 Tim Cooper build, had a Chevy 350 in it, NV gearbox. The thing was a fucking beast. And then we had it on 35-inch tires because the 33-inch tires were overspinning it. So we needed to be less fuel, less RPM. So Brandon ended up buying big tires for it. We flew out to Tim Cooper's place. He was out in the Seattle area at the time. And we drove it back in maybe a week and a half. We ended up going down to Portland, Oregon. We went to, it was some Land Rover event, British Cars by the Sea or something like that. Met a bunch of West Coast Land Rover guys and then hightailed it back to New York. The top ripped off in Omaha. So we had to go to Lowe's and buy a blue tarp tape, put a tarp on it. And then our friend back in Portland, our friend John came and he ended up driving back with us. So 3 guys and a Series 1 driving cross country. And I don't know if you guys know Brandon Raby, but he's not the smallest guy. I'm normal size, and so is John. John's maybe a little bit bigger than me, but you would sit there at 3 a.m. It was your time to drive. And 3 a.m, you're driving. Brandon's legs are just spread like this. His foot's on your foot, which is hitting the accelerator.
Cruise control.
Yeah, cruise control. We had a blanket between us because we were all freezing. The light switch, this is a funny thing, because the light switch was hooked on a 3 system where it was on, off, high beam. So we'd be going down middle of Alpine Wyoming and just hit low beam, and a car was coming towards us, and we would go back down to the high beam. And I remember I was driving one late night, and I'm driving, and John's next to the light, and we're on the high beam. I'm like, John, flick it down to the low beam, and he flicks it, and it goes out. Nothing. And we're in the middle toggle. And I'm like, John, no.
Yeah. Low beam again.
Yeah,
Another low beam.
Anything. I need a light, just something.
Something to look out.
So it's just like First Overland.
Yeah. And it had the original tank in it. And I think we got 100 miles, maybe 80 miles, and we had to fill it up every 100 miles. So we bought tanks with us. Oh, it was just, it's basically just like an oil tanker. We're just filling it up constantly to drive it home. But super cool truck. You can go 100 miles an hour in it, and you're unsafe as hell, which was great.
For a few minutes until you run out of fuel.
There you go, 2 miles.
It's not the truck itself. It's everyone driving around you that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
I'm less worried about me. It's the other people.
Yeah.
No, I'm worried about you plenty, John. So.
Well, you were one of the founders of the New Jersey Land Rover Club. How did that come about?
Oh, this is first after I bought my Defender. I was looking around to off-road and meet some friends and meet other people that had Land Rovers. So I think I was on Muddy Oval. Do you guys remember Muddy Oval back in the day? A little website. It was on Muddy Oval, and they kind of had these group outings, and we would go to Roush Creek and go to Pine Barrens and Paragon, which was still open back then. And it was me, Ryan Muller, Yadic, Morris, and then maybe Eric Choi was the founding members. And it was never really a club. It was just the Land Rover or New Jersey Land Rover guys. So it was good to meet them. It was like-minded people. The club's grown. It's switched hands. We don't meet as much anymore, but it's still around. It's still relevant. I still talk to the guys, which is great. We live in different spots now, but it's just nice to have a little club that was there. Obviously, it extended further out into more Jersey area where Ben lives, Christina, Dixon would come down. You'd have Howard from Guy Fawkes. You had whenever the events were around, we'd always invite all these people out. Yeah, it grew here and there. The New York club would come out here and there. Yeah, I guess the club is still around, which is nice.
Is it more like the Fort Pitt Club, where we're more of a group? Call it the Fort Pitt Land Rover group.
Yeah, it's a group that we don't see each other for 5 years, and we're like, remember that group we had? And we're like, oh yeah.
So it's exactly like the F-Plurg then.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Exists but doesn't exist.
Yes, when the people get together is when the club is gathering.
Every 5 years or so, we get together.
Yeah. Sometimes I tell people we're a drinking club that likes Land Rovers. So we just go to drink.
Well, that's any Land Rover club.
Oh, exactly.
You were also involved with Alloy and Grit. They were certainly friends of the program. We're curious.
Yeah, Steve and Brian, good guys. I was more the graphics guy, the photographer, put it together. I didn't write the articles. I had one article called Global Lens, which to me was like, what's out there in the world that is non-US based. Obviously, Alloy and Grit was a more focused US based magazine. My article was reach out to see who's doing interesting things in Italy versus Greece versus Australia. So I traveled a bit around the world and met other like-minded Land Rover people. And my article was always an openness to what's going on in Iceland right now. How do we go rent one of these Icelandic trucks? And I would take the photos and all that. But me and my junior designer, we put the magazine together. Yeah, all the layouts, all the photography. Yeah, all the articles, all the clip art you saw. My background is in graphic design. That was my take on it, was let those guys write the articles and let me put together something beautiful.
You guys did a great job, by the way. It was
a good publication.
It was well designed. You could see it in the packaging, if you will. It was very well done. Sorry, it didn't survive COVID, did it?
Yeah, it's fine. COVID destroyed a lot of magazines out there. A lot of just anything it destroyed. I was always proud of it. I really liked it. Always was. I wanted to make it a high-end magazine, but just something that a person would spend $10 on and actually collect it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to have a throwaway magazine. I wanted you to keep them all, and I still have them all. And I still
have all mine.
Yeah. And I think that's really, at that time, the only way you could survive at all in print media was to make something that was going to be like that.
Yeah, it was tough. The sponsors were a little bit tough to get. Subscriptions don't pay for the magazine. It's the ads and all that. And difficult being a niche magazine to get BF Goodrich to put an ad in there. They're looking at us like, who are you guys compared to the Jeep magazine?
Other than the people who buy their tires, nobody.
Yeah, exactly. We all know our cars. Land Rover is a big brand, but obviously the cars that we like are very niche in America. Bring that stuff was great. I think everybody really appreciated it. But yeah, it was, we were always breaking even. It was fine for what it was. But yeah, Barnes & Noble ended up closing up. They sent us back all of the issues we sent them. They ripped the covers off, which was insane. It was just,
having worked in a
Oh.
bookstore, we had to do that. That was
That's
just
their policy. Rip the covers off. It's
because
like
that's the only way you got credit. You send the covers back to the publisher so you could get credit for the ones you didn't sell. So the remaining carcasses, if you will, you had to throw them away. So
horrible thing.
yes,
But
I know
that's the world we're in. And Land Rover wasn't giving us any cars to test drive. It was during COVID. Everybody was suffering. So we were like, let's just end this thing. I think we had a good run at it. Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Oh, it's still, people talk about it still. Anytime you mention alloying grit, it's well regarded.
And really the articles and the pictures and all that are pretty timeless. So it's not like they're going to get stale sitting around on your coffee table.
Yeah.
There's still lots of good pictures that people want to pick up and look at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping for 10 years. I see one on eBay going for like $100. I'm like, yes, we made it. We're rare.
And then start going for more than that. You're going to start digging through your spares thinking, what have I got that I could get rid of?
I take it then, as you were traveling for those articles that you wrote, were you hailed as a visiting hero and the Land Rover community would come out for you?
It was amazing. It was, you became not like celebrity, but like all of these places. I would get an invite to go to Costa Rica, and it was like, here's your Series 1, go drive it through Costa Rica. Let's go up to this volcano, go off-roading. And
oh, twist my arm.
yeah, it was awesome. The only problem is we didn't have budget for this. I made my budget. I was still working in advertising. I was working as a freelancer. So the good thing was, it was like, next issue's coming up, and I'm going to pay $1,000 and go to Australia for 2 months and write my article there and have a good time. Yeah, I traveled a lot during that time, which was nice. Met up with Ricardo at Cool and Vintage, drove one of his cars all through Portugal, went to France, went to Biarritz, went to the Wheels and Waves event, did Italy, I've done Australia, went to Guatemala, did Costa Rica. God, where else? Iceland. I did Iceland. Recently went to Tunisia. We did the Sahara Desert in a bunch of old Defenders.
All right. Well, pause on that story. Let's tell us a little more about the Tunisia. That's where a lot of films are filmed there, Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark and that kind of thing.
Yeah, saw the Star Wars set there. It was pretty cool. Yeah, we shipped about 8. The first time we went, we shipped about 8 of them out of Genoa down to Tunis. I went with Brandon again. I went with my shop over there, the Corsetti brothers as well. They came too. It was a really fun trip. Our guide, Claudio's hilarious, guys. It's Italian guy. He's been everywhere. We missed the boat to get to Tunis the first time, so we ended up getting the second boat that brought us to Sicily. We're in the island of Sicily. Me and Brandon are just around, and Brandon's like, did you look up who Claudio was? And I was like, I don't know. What are you talking about? And we look him up maybe about 10 years before this. He got captured by Gaddafi when he was in Libya. This guy goes and does all of Africa. He does trips everywhere. He got captured by Gaddafi, and all of the people that were with him got captured. It took him I can pull the article later, but it took him a couple of months for the Italian consulate to basically barter with Gaddafi and the Libyans to get him back, get everybody back to Italy. So I was like, all right, this guy's either super safe or this guy's reckless as hell, but whatever. We're in Tunisia.
Or maybe some combination of the above.
Yeah, there's an adventure to go on. Yeah,
He's probably going to get you in some trouble, but he might be able to get you out of it as well.
Exactly, yeah. Nice guy. We still talk with him. He does trips. We do maybe 3 to 4 trips a year he does over there. He does a lot of, I think they're going to do Morocco soon. They do Algeria. The dunes are like huge red dunes out there.
What trucks are you driving?
I was in a Defender 90 in 235 85s, little 31-inch tires, non-matching spare, mind you, non-matching spare.
Oh, of course not.
Because why would you?
Why?
It's only a spare.
Yeah, only
You're not going to need it. You're not.
They ship those space savers from the factory now. So what could the problem be?
This was funny because this trip, usually in America, you go whenever I go to Colorado, I'm all right, bring the axles, bring spares, bring tools. We went over there and we brought nothing, absolutely nothing. It was pretty scary. My group in Italy, they're like, we got all this water for you. You guys are good. We have 2 cases full of water. And I get over there, me and Brandon are chugging water, we're buying water. We end up running out of water. So me and Brandon look in the back and we're like, all right, let's crack open this case of water that my Italian guys brought me. And we open up the case and it's all bubble water. It's all frizzante. I don't know, but like in the middle of the desert, 102 degrees and you're chugging bubble water. And
It's not the best for rehydrating.
No. I kept cracking them all open, hoping the gas comes out of them. Yeah, it was a bit sketchy. We had a Toyota with us. He ended up breaking a CV. We had to use a satellite phone to call these guys in the town that was nearby. They're these bedouin guys. They ended up finding us. A day or two later, they ended up finding us. This is another crazy story, which Brandon can back me up on. So we're at this watering hole. The guys drive out. They fix the Toyota. The guy at the watering hole is this Tunisian guy. He basically owns like a little restaurant in the middle of nowhere. He serves you coffee and water and Fanta. I'm there with Brandon sitting at the watering hole with this other Italian guy. And the guy that owns the place comes up to me and Brandon. He's crying. And we're like, there's nobody around us. For days, there's nobody. This guy's crying. And we're like, what's going on? And he's like, those guys you hired, they came here last week and they fixed the Toyota and the guy couldn't pay him. So they cracked him over the head and they killed him. And we're like, oh, shit. So now we're in the desert with these three guys that are murderers, which is from this guy's, the watering hole guy's story. Everybody comes back. We meet up with the murder guys and the guys that fixed the Toyota. And I start telling my Italian crew, I'm like, these guys are not good. We got to get out of here. We settle up with the guys that brought the CV in for the Toyota. They end up leaving. And then the next morning, we see them traveling back towards us. And I'm like, oh, God, what is going on now? They come up to us and they say, oh, our car broke down. You got to come help us now. So now we got to drive another day over the dunes to go help this random guy of theirs that was sitting in the car and the battery was dead. I was like, you got to be kidding me. We end up jumping the car and we all travel back to the little town called Dutz in Tunisia. And now these guys just think the world of us. They want to hang out with us. They want to be Facebook friends with us. And we're like,
Oh, dear.
I think we these murder guys. I don't have more problems.
Yeah.
It was a wild time out there. Like I never
should have taken the hit when the Toyota broke. You should have done Top Gear and just leave them behind.
leave them. Let's go. Yeah, everybody goes on adventures. Everybody goes on these off-road trips. I've never been in a more remote, out of your element, a little scaredness to you. Yeah, it takes, if you do break down there, you got to call this guy. It's a satellite phone. He picks you up. It takes around 8 days for him to get you, and it takes him 8 days to get you out. So if you break down in your, say, 16-day journey, you still need that 16 days to get out. And you're nowhere. You're nowhere. GPS is it. And it's crazy to think you pull up your phone and you're like, what am I going to do on this thing? There's nothing there. There's just nothing on your phone. You can't see anything. You have to have a really good co-pilot like Brandon. Me and him are level-headed. If you get in some and it's not your time, you got a guy that's going to be pissed at you. And I tell this to a lot of people, like Brandon goes with me everywhere on these trips. And we kind of have this understanding of it's your time to drive. It's my turn to drive. This is how you use the winch. This is how you get out of this thing, because you got to have a good co-driver on any of these trips you go on, because God forbid somebody gets panicked and you're with this panicked person, you can't get out of it.
Weakest link, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you typically just two of you going, or are you going with a larger group trucks?
Usually it's me and him that go on these things. We'll go in and meet up with friends. Like Australia, I did a month there. He came in for about 2 weeks. We drove all through Australia. A 1982 Range Rover Classic. We drove from Brooklyn to Cabo in a right-hand drive Defender 120 out of Australia. Very rare 120. Yep.
I didn't even know such a thing existed.
Yeah, they only made 60 of these things. Yeah, it's like an elongated 110 or something.
They probably lost their shirt on each of them, so they stopped making them.
Yeah. I don't know if it was I don't think it was military. It was for some other kind of application. I don't know.
Yeah, all the cool stuff starts as some sort of commercial contract, and then they think, oh, I can make a model out of this.
Yeah. It's like a power line company that orders them.
Yeah, that's how the 130 started.
Yeah. We do a lot of trips together. Yeah, we did the Series 1 cross country. We just did a Colorado trip with him. We drove out a bunch of Defenders to Colorado, did a whole trip out there. Brandon ended up buying the Ultimate Adventure Range Rover Classic. Did you guys see that one? The all yellow one that was an Ultimate Adventure. It had a Cummins 2.8 in it. we ended up buying that from Vern, who's a big kind of restoration, more on the Jeep world guy, Broncos and Fords, but he ended up building that out of Arizona. We drove that cross country. Yeah, I've been on a lot of trips. I don't know. My thing is I love the club events. I love going to Mar. I love going to Winter Romp and all that. But if you can sprinkle in kind of the let's fly in here and pick up a car and see how well it does, that to me is like a really scary, more true adventure. Like even in Costa Rica, we just landed and picked up a car and drove it around and then got rid of it.
So that's the adventure, because you don't know if it's as advertised or not. You're showing up sight unseen and jumping in something and hoping it's going to perform the way you expect.
Yep. Yeah. In Australia, we bought this 82 Range Rover and we took about 2 days, went through everything and we're like, good, works fine. Let's go and drive through the Outback for a month.
How was the air conditioning?
AC was good until it broke.
Yeah, and it's always good till it breaks.
Yeah.
It was good until it wasn't. Yep.
And that's the one place where I would not want to be without air conditioning.
Yeah, and this was January, so there's summertime. So yeah, pretty hot. Yeah, it had a Zuzu 2.8 motor in it. That thing we weighed it at one of the stations and it was like 8,000 pounds. Had 75 liters of fuel, I think, on there, which was an insane amount of fuel on there. Yeah, I like doing that kind of stuff.
Have you been to Asia? Because I heard South America, I heard Europe, I heard North America, and Australia. I didn't hear Asia.
I haven't been to Asia yet. I did get the invite pre-COVID to go to they do like this camel trophy, like reenactment over there in Indonesia. So I may go over there, and I do have a bunch of good friends in the Philippines that want me to come over, and also the Land Rover group in Japan loves me. And they're like, come over anytime. Yeah, it's interesting because anywhere I would go was a really cool country, but then you land and you're like, that's the same car I got at home. So it's like, I mean, normal. Yeah, I'm wishing for the Ferrari when you go. You land and it's another Defender, which is great. I'm used to it.
Yeah, that's the connection, right? Anywhere you go, Land Rover owner knows another Land Rover owner. How does this lead into the business then?
So the business, I saw an opportunity. This was 2010. Every of Arconic, you have ECD, you have all these more major outlets producing these Defenders. I never really like them. Build quality aside, it's just a different aesthetic. I went over and I met with Ricardo at Cool and Vintage, and I drove one of his trucks, and it was fantastic. It was just a TDCi Puma truck with leather inside, and it was just a very nice driving car. And I was like, this is what I would love to sell. This is what I would love to make for the American market. I didn't think there was a quality produced normal in the sense of what a Defender should be out there. A lot of people
I believe the term would be under-pimped.
Yes. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus at all. We all have our own aesthetic and all that, but it's not.
They can easily be overdone.
Yes, they can easily be overdone. And I get that. People look at it like, yeah, I want a G-Wagon and this is the next thing I can get. And it's not a G-Wagon.
Now, if you want a G-Wagon,
get a G-Wagon. But the Defender, as we all know, it's a small car. The 90 is like 3,900 pounds. And I saw these guys putting the 1,000 pounds of horrible leather inside, or all these add-ons on the outside, and there's still a little 200 TDI pulling this car. And I'm like, this is not how this car should function. It should be original. I don't care if you go from a 16-inch steel wheel to an alloy. I think the biggest we've ever done is an 18. I even fought the guy on putting the Sawtooth 18s on there. I think a lot of people come to us for our aesthetic, our build quality. I think they come to us because they know me, that I've been to these countries with this car. I've been everywhere. I've broken down in Tunisia and I know how to fix it. And would I bring in Arconic to Tunisia? No, it just has too much crap going on with it. Yeah, I just wanted to build a really good quality car for people. One of our biggest thing is our metal prep, which I think is really underrated. When we have a client come in and try to talk to us, I tell them how much galvanizing we do, how much zinc coating we do. Your chassis is brand new, laser cut, galvanized. Your knuckles are zinc coated. Your hubs are zinc coated. If you're going to restore this car, try to be as original as you can, but try to just upgrade it a little bit. And I tell people this, the car was great. It only needed like 10 to 15% betterness to it, which is a little bit more interior and maybe a different motor. Not that 300 TDI is a great motor. Right now we're doing TD5s. TD5 is amazing. Favorite motor right now. It's modern. It's quiet. It puts on a ton of power. Little ECU. It's that era of when we had all the V8 little ECUs. So it's in that era. I love that motor. LSs are great. LT1's great too.
But they've been done to death.
Yeah, they've been done to death. But it is also, I get in my LT1 10-speed and I go 100 miles an hour if I want. It's not needed. And I tell people, if you want, the two perfect ones I think right now is a TD5 manual and an LS automatic if you want that. They're two separate things. The LS is, yes, every day I can get in it, start it up, the heat works great. It just is normal. The TD5 is pretty normal in terms of the diesel, but for both of them, I think they're on par for both of them. I think you have a little less power in the TD5, but the diesel is so much nicer than the gas.
Diesel makes everything better.
Exactly.
It just does.
It's nice. But again, I get into wintertime, go up to Bruce's and it's negative 40. My LS starts and the heat's on right now. And I'm like,
There are some advantages.
it depends. It depends.
It says the guy who goes to Florida for the winter.
Oh, damn, it looked amazing. But I do have a TD5 down here.
Oh, there you go.
I think I try to tell people our philosophy is purpose built. I try to tell people it's purpose built because the purpose of it is to just keep it simple in that sense that I want to drive this car for 8 hours on the road and it's fine. Yet I can go to Winterup, I can go to Mar, I can go to Scar, and I can off-road the shit out of this thing. That thing on stock suspension, 33-inch tires, lockers, you never get stuck. You're less capable as a driver than the car is. So I tell that to people. Most people don't drive these cars who order them. They just come in, I want these 20-inch rims, put all the shit on it, and they don't drive it, or it's got Chevy axles on it, and it comes to me, and I tell them, you screwed up because you were told to put all this crap on there. They drive my car. Oh, this car's normal. It's nice. It's quiet. It's handleable. I'm like, yeah, it handles great because I didn't mess with anything. I just slightly made the interior better. I made the engine a little bit better. I rust-proofed everything for you. I put all brand new Puma doors on there. There's just little upgrades you can do that makes them just that much nicer than they were from factory.
So you have two shops now, one in Brooklyn, one in Italy. Is that what I understand?
Three. Yeah.
Three.
One in Italy, dual citizen. So we incorporate over there. The cars are easy to get there. Obviously, most of the cars are coming out of there. We'll pick them up from Spain or Greece here and there. And then we partnered up with a shop in Virginia Jimmy Kelly, you guys may know him. He worked at Land Rover Manhattan, went out to Land Rover California. Him, Drew, and all those guys are working for us now. So if you own a Defender now, before we never would fix your car. So if you own a Defender, we send it down to the Virginia shop. Motor swaps are mostly Brooklyn and Virginia. And then work-wise is divvied up between the three. So it all depends. The leather work is phenomenal. It's all Italian, genuine Italian leather. The little shop we have that makes all of it in Italy just does old Ferraris and old Lamborghinis. I know leather is not, I get people that rip on me, oh, why you put a leather in a Land Rover? And I'll tell you what, because leather is better than vinyl. I'm sorry.
Leather is great until you get somebody in Europe putting that god-awful red leather in something, or that weird orange-brown color that they seem to like in Spain. And so, come on, guys.
And the diamonds, I don't do diamonds. Diamonds are for American cars.
Keep it tasteful.
Peaceful.
But use good quality stuff, and that's the right combination.
That's the thing. And a lot of people will make fun of the leather, but I'm like, what are your shoes? Are your shoes made of vinyl? Is the cowboy wearing vinyl chaps? No, leather is phenomenal. Actually, I can't even get anything wrapped in vinyl. They don't have vinyl in Italy because the Italians are so proud of everything.
Because they have pride.
Yes. Yeah. The cows.
Or maybe I should say they have self-respect.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's the same cows that you get your mozzarella from. So it's good stuff. So yeah, it's phenomenal. They skim it down a couple of millimeters because usually leather you see out of England or Spain is still fat leather, like American style leather.
Yeah, it's the full skin.
Full skin. We skim it down to be like a little paper thin. It's laid down there beautiful. Yeah, that really makes a car. You don't need it obviously, but it's real to have, and it smells amazing. Yeah.
So where can folks find you up in the next several months? Are you going to, what events might they find you at, or where do you anticipate you'll be?
So it sounds like you need to publish your own events calendar.
We're planning on doing an Arizona southern off-road trip. I think that may be in April or May. And then we're going to store the cars out there. And I think we're going to go back August, September, do Colorado trip again. We do all the mountain passes in Colorado. I didn't make Winter Up this year because I was down in Florida, but usually every year make Winter Up. I think been the last 16 to almost 20 years since I got my first one. I'm going to Mar. I want to do more of some West Coast stuff. I have the whole calendar. It's just finding time to do this. The local stuff around the East Coast is easy to do, obviously, but getting out to shipping the car out is a little bit more of a pain. But I think my summer, I'm going to probably spend July and August again in Italy, which I usually do. I have my TD5 over there. I have my race car over there. I spend August in vacation, just go to the beaches and all that. And we go off-roading in the north, which is right in the foothills of the Swiss Alps, which is a beautiful area to go off-roading.
What's off-roading like in the Alps?
It's interesting. It's weird. It's not Colorado. It's like you have your mountains and the mountains have snow on it, but like it's like the Sound of Music there. Everything is very open. There's not a lot of trees, which is similar to kind of Colorado. Just a beautiful area. Yeah. It's not really regulated. It's funny. Every kind of country I go into, it's fun to talk to the people that are there. And like Australia, I'm like, well, why are you guys still rocking these 31-inch tires? And they're like, because of regulations, we cannot go 2 inches over. Yeah, it's interesting. Same thing with Italy, same thing with Germany. So they can't modify their cars. You can modify your car in Italy to have everything, 37-inch tires, winch, rack, all that. But then you have to homodulize it, which is like $5,000 to $8,000. So these guys will hold their cars in like a garage, never use it for a year, modify the out of it, pay the tax, and now they have a modified car. It's interesting. Like just even there, I had my TD5, which on the paperwork had the 7.50 standard tires, which came with it. So my guys over there are pretty creative. They got a 255/85 and they rub off the 255/85 and they stamp in a 7.50. So if you get pulled over by the police, you say, look at the tire. And they're like, okay, fine. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Allegedly they do this, right? Allegedly.
We don't do that.
No. I imagine that the off-roading there, as you said, not a lot of trees. I suspect, is it more like green laning more so than, say, rocky, technical?
Yeah, you have more green. Yeah, it's that green laning stuff. Yeah, we've done some hard stuff there. My guys went to Sardinia. They do a really hard course in Sardinia. It's just, it's probably Rubicon plus. Yeah, pretty bad, which I've done the Rubicon in a Defender, which is also amazing testing to do. If your car on a 33-inch tires with lockers can do the Rubicon, that's all you're going to ever do because, you're not going to go anywhere else with that car. So
have you joined the NorCal folks for their Rovicon?
Yeah, did Rovicon 1. Yeah, nice. I was out there for the first one, shot it for the magazine. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, me and my friend rolled his Disco 1 up the hill. We were getting towed.
See, now that takes some extra skill.
Exactly. I'll tell you what happened. We blew a CV. We got towed from another guy going up this hill. He took a sharp right around this corner and he just starts pulling us over. And I'm in the passenger seat.
Oh.
And it's the lowest rollover I've ever seen in my life. It's just we're tipping and you're like trying to grab.
And this guy's not stopping. He's just continuing to pull you over.
Yeah, he's just pulling. And we're like, no, stop stopping. And we're like, and I'm like, oh my God. And I had my window down and this root came up. I was like, holy, that's pretty close to me. He ended up stalling out because he couldn't pull us anymore. It rolled in.
Because you were no longer on wheels that were turning.
The
rolling resistance went way up.
Yeah, so that was.
How did you get out of that? Did you right the vehicle and still continue to pull it?
No, so the Disco was running still. It was running, and the keys dropped out because the tumblers it was horrible in this guy's car. Tumbler fell out.
It's a Disco. They get that way. Rain and cold weather, you get started and put your keys back in your pocket.
The keys are down on my door because I'm on this side and I'm in my seatbelt. I'm trying to grab the keys and I couldn't grab them.
I'm trying to find them so you can stuff them back in and turn the engine off.
Yeah. And it's billowing smoke. It ended up turning off. I climb out the driver's side and then they flip it back on those wheels. We pull it out. Yeah. And end up starting again, which is amazing. It was I think it was a 4.6 V8 or something like that, or 4.0. But yeah, ran after that, and then we finished the Rubicon. This was like Cadillac Hill. This is like the last big hill before you get to the top. Yeah, that was a fun trip. Those guys are good. If you guys ever go out there, Rubicon is a fun, very fun trip. Definitely do it.
Yeah, they've been on the program. They've invited us out. Just one of those things.
There's a bunch of guys doing stuff. It's just, yeah, you got to find the time and get a flight and do it.
Dan, this has been a nice conversation, and it was wonderful to hear your adventures, and thanks for coming on the program. Where can folks find you and track you down?
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys have been killing it for a while. One of the best podcasts out there for Land Rovers.
12 years.
Always tell people to listen to you guys. You guys do a fantastic job. To reach me, Brooklyn Coachworks, email sales@BrooklynCoachworks. Yeah, everything is just on the handle, Instagram, all that kind of crap. So we have all of that.
We'll have a link, of course, in the show notes where folks can track you down. Thanks again, Dan. We appreciate you coming on. If folks say hi to you if they see Dan out and about. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We hope you enjoyed show number 145 for April of 2025. Thanks to our guest this month, Dan Marcello. I wonder, did I miss any bleeping of his swear words? If I did, let me know. I hope I got them all.
Wore out your bleep button on this one, I think.
I think so. Very much.
Thankfully, it's not a video show, or you would have had to put some little black bars across some things.
We recently joined Reddit. If you're not out on Reddit, the podcast is out there on Reddit, which is another social media network. And it's CentreSteer _podcast is the channel. You can go join that.
Need to learn how to spell center.
In a British way. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, correct.
In the British way. And recently I made some connections out there that I'll mention to you. One is found out that the Green Oval Guild here in the United States is celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. So I was able to make a connection with them and hope to get them on the show and talk about 20 years of the Green Oval Guild. And also found out that someone found a 1995 Discovery One with no sunroof, and they're thinking about buying it. So I hope they did buy it. I don't know if they listened to the podcast, and if you do, let us know if you were able to actually purchase that.
1995 5-speed D1 with no roofs is like the ultimate D1.
Yeah, that sounds so great.
It has 147,500 miles. Two owners.
It's just broke in.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's probably only on its fourth head gasket.
The account is Brave Razmataz 485. Brave Razmataz 485. Please report in. Did you buy the 1995 D1? And there's also somebody, I think sounds like an American, who is living in Europe, and they are going to purchase a classic Defender, and they eventually want to bring it to the United States. There's folks doing interesting things out on Reddit. If you're not out on Reddit, it could be a replacement for Facebook or not. I don't know. There's still a lot of folks out on Facebook in the Land Rover world, but Reddit is another location for you.
And there are a couple other pretty well-used Land Rover subreddits as well. Not just CentreSteer, but certainly feel free to post in our subreddit as well.
We were the first to have a podcast, but I don't think we've been first at anything else.
I just found the link for that Defender. The individual said they finally pulled the trigger. They want to keep it original for a few years, and then when they move back to the U.S., they want to do a full chassis and powertrain swap. It's a 95 300 TDI with 47,000 miles.
Right on.
And it's like a county edition that has the stripes there on it.
Even my flatbed had those ugly stripes, so it's...
Oh, I like them. I think it looks good.
All right.
That's
Sure,
I don't know, each his own, Harold. Purple Engagement 335. Let us know. Report in on your purchasing of that classic Defender.
Bring it by for us to see it once you make it stateside.
And thanks to Harold and Morgan joining us this month on the podcast as always. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, sure. $10 is $10.
Little dose of old man joy. And thanks to PAX for his continued production support, helping us out. We do appreciate that. We post a new podcast at the end of every month. Our website, CentreSteer.com, center in the British spelling, has all our shows that you can listen to and show notes with links to the stories discussed in today's podcast. You can directly support the podcast at patreon.com/CentreSteer. You can buy a t-shirt, a sticker, or even buy us a tea and help support the show. Visit our website for all those details. If you have an idea for a guest, we're open to those. Send us details and any contact info that you might have. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you and what you're up to in your Land Rover.
On behalf of the entire crew, minus Dixon, here at the CentreSteer podcast, I'd like to thank you for listening this month. We know you have a choice when it comes to your podcast content, and we do appreciate your choosing us. Please take a moment to look around you for any personal items you may be leaving behind, especially in the overhead bins. Remember, some items may have shifted during the show. Please watch your step when you climb aboard your Old Man Joy Rover, and you may now resume your important things. But stay off my lawn! Really? That's all it takes? Just tell your truck not to break down and it won't?